Introduction. Do the opposite of everybody else if you want to be successful. It'll make perfect sense by the time you reach the final page of this book. Terrence Wilburn. I started making money by recording songs in my bedroom home studio in 2003. Now I teach people online how to do the same. I do not have 1 million followers on social media, but what I share with you in these pages is a life lived on purpose in the pursuit of happiness. I will share with you, as I have others, my truth and the spiritual discovery I have made about those experiences, which has led me closer to God, and the learning more about how to operate in a world of abundance, waiting for you and me to tap into what is really out there in the universe, is inside of you and me. People always tell me how their lives have changed after taking one of my courses. And all those good-natured comments gave me the fuel to create this book and share my passion with you. My online business is profitable because I tell people the truth about what it takes to be successful. If you want to shortcut the process, subscribe to my YouTube page. I have many hidden videos where I share my success secrets. You can watch here, bit.ly/survive. Music Biz. During the times when I'm not taking an exciting vacation with my family or checking on my investments, I like to teach, which is why I'm sharing what I discovered about the music business inside this book. After many years of researching, study, and pursuing degrees, I found out what really works, and it's not going for more of what they want you to know in class, because school can't tell you how to avoid being dead broke after a 6-figure student loan. And upon graduating, you're going to move back in mama's tiny apartment, get evicted, and face homelessness. But I can, because that's my story. And I'm going to share with you how I went through all that to become the highest paid music business consultant in my city. I'm blessed to have had so many experiences, and I'd love to share it all with you. And once you see your vision of fulfillment coming true, my prayer is that you too will stop and help someone else along the way. More than anything, I want you to succeed, to go further than I have ever dreamed. I want you to be truly successful, but remember, there is a cost, and everything you want has a price you must pay. Are you willing to pay the cost? If so, continue to read. Who is this book for? The person who wants to be a successful music artist or producer, the one who is yet to discover their dream, yet believes it will come true and has the faith to take action. If that's you, then the world cannot stop a mind made up. Nothing can, because you are ready to move into your destiny. The number one question most artists want to know: how do I get better? My answer: join the 30-day artist course, bit.ly/60-day artist. Attention all music creators and aspiring producers. Are you tired of endlessly searching for the elusive secrets to producing music that captivates audiences and stands the test of time? Well, search no further, because your breakthrough has arrived. Introducing the 30-day artist course, a revolutionary guide that unveils the closely guarded techniques of the music production elite, authored by yours truly, Terrence Wilburn, a seasoned veteran in the world of music entrepreneurship. This book is your backstage pass to unlocking the mysteries behind crafting hit-worthy tracks that leave listeners begging for more. Inside the 30-day artist course, you'll discover a treasure trove of insider knowledge and battle-tested strategies that have propelled countless artists to stardom. From mastering the art of sonic storytelling to harnessing the power of cutting edge production tools. Each secret revealed in this book is a game changer, guaranteed to elevate your music to unprecedented heights. But wait, there's more. Alongside these invaluable insights, you'll also receive practical tips, real-world case studies, and actionable advice that you can implement immediately to transform your music production skills from amateur to elite. Specifically, you'll learn how to create content for social media that hooks fans and keeps them engaged from start to finish. Techniques for monetizing your music without expensive equipment. Strategies for building your brand and attracting the attention of industry insiders. So whether you're a seasoned pro looking to take your sound to the next level, or a budding artist hungry for success, the 30-day artist course is your ultimate roadmap to achieving music production mastery. Don't let another moment slip by without unlocking the secrets to creating music that leaves a lasting impression. Join the 30-day artist course. bit.ly/60-day artist. Get the help you want. Join the 30-day artist course. bit.ly/60-day artist. Get your personalized music game plan. bit.ly/survive music biz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at iKeyMusic. Also, if this book was helpful to you, to show your appreciation and love, donate to the author any amount. Your payment is secure. Cash App, $WILBURN81. PayPal, IamTWilburn@gmail.com. Chapter 1. The Key to the City, What's It Worth to You? Being very successful is the ultimate revenge, Frank Sinatra. Imagine having the power you want. You could go anywhere in town. You get to visit who you want to visit. You could see who you want to see, do what you want to do, and be who you want to be. You could be greater than the mayor or anyone else in town because you have the key to the city. You could shop where you want, eat what you want, go where and do what you want. When you felt like it, you would be accepted any and everywhere because you hold the key to the city. Also, having the key to the city means that you have power, political power, influence power, people power, money power. Having the key to the city is like having the combination to a vault at a bank or where they keep all the money. With that kind of money, what would you do? Perhaps buy a Bentley or start flying a Jet G status. Perhaps you take all your friends on vacation. Perhaps you get with that person you always wanted to be with and show them just how great you can really be. But imagine that you had the key to the city, but the wrong town. Imagine taking that combination to the vault, to the wrong bank. See, that's the problem. You've been taking the key and combination to the wrong town and the wrong bank. If they give you the key to the city of Philadelphia and you walk into the first bank of New York City, if they don't first arrest you, you'll be banned from that bank. And after news catches about town, people will run you out of town. And that's what you've been doing. And that's what music is. You have to have the right key and combination in order to crack the safe and go about town doing what you want to do. Let's look at the radio. We all know people who sound better than the people who are on the radio. Maybe you're one of those people. You're the guy or gal who sings better, plays better, does better in every area of music. But you hadn't realized that no matter how great you play, how good you look, nor how good your beat is, that's not going to get you played on the radio. Getting on the radio means simply that you have the right key and combination. What it takes to get the right key. Radio is a multi-level media conglomerate of connected and interconnected people who produce propaganda for mass subjects to be influenced for specific purposes of politics, consumerism, and in some cases, medical or health education. The very simple way of putting it, radio was created for the purpose to educate, influence, and persuade, control masses of people simultaneously. Read that again. Corporations receive great benefit by selling products and services without going door to door by salesman or sales letter. In short words, it's a pyramid scheme. I know that was a lot to take in, but here's the point of why I told you that. That's why your songs haven't been on the radio. That's why your musician buddies don't make it to the radio. People in high places are holding you back because they feel that your music would not be persuasive enough to control an audience of thousands of people so that they could sell cars, cereal, food, jewelry, and other things that help to keep you distracted and sleep. Yep, I know that's kind of hard to believe, but let's look at how you're going to stop this from happening, to wake up and make up for lost time by getting the best kind of revenge to make your dream come true. The truth about submitting your demo. I have, in fact, many times submitted a demo. My first was at a BMI industry party, and there were many up and coming artists and producers like myself. A host of names were there. Some you will know. I'll mention a few: Lil Jon and T.I., both super hyper artists who would later crush the scene with their music. And then there were others who probably never did anything but go to that party. I didn't stay for the whole event. I had to catch the last train home. Besides, I was at this party to introduce myself to the community. A lot of these people were just as scared as I was. Just simply walking up to a random person to say what's up would spook anyone back then. So they simply shrug and reply in the same fashion. I gave my name and they gave theirs, and in such a way that I should be impressed, but I wasn't. In fact, I didn't know I should be. You see, most of these people had no names at the time, so our names meant nothing, although to the ego, it probably meant everything. Being at a party like that means you're nobody unless you're somebody. And as I remember, there weren't any big names I recognized that night. So I passed out my demo here and there, and I had some free hors d'oeuvres, at least I think they were. Oops, and I left. I was not there to impress anyone with my demo, which probably sucked. I had a homemade media kit, cheap cassette tapes, which were in style at the time, thank God. At that time, CDs had not been mass produced in a way where people weren't still using cassette tapes in their cars, and an MP3 was probably being created by computer geeks and still thought to be a soda of some sort, if it was even around at all. Anyhow, I had a home printed pamphlet made of office supply paper and a terrible black and white photo of myself holding a cordless phone that looked like a gun to my head. Ha! And I wrote over the photo in a big black magic marker that said, "This is a bad photo of me. LOL. I can laugh at myself now. But now that I think about it, I believe I was the only real professional in that place. Seeing the difference between them and me was that I understood what I was doing. Selling myself as an artist, manager, producer, and executive. The point was to sell others that I oversaw my own career, to which I would later find out from Lil Jon, years later when I worked on the Crunk Rock album. When we talked privately said, man, you're better off being independent. I wish I was still independent. I didn't bother to ask him what he meant by that. He just nudged and said, I'll find out later, and he was right. Since then, many more years have passed, and every day I realize more how much that means right now. I didn't become the next king of crunk, nor did I get a Grammy for my work on his album like he did for Usher's song. Yeah, and no, I didn't get an invite to rock out on stage with them at the 2024 Super Bowl in Vegas, but I did watch their great performance on my really big television in my own living room of the home I had built from the ground up. I realized that was not my path, and I don't have to get my music played in the clubs or a Pepsi commercial, but I still retain every cent of everything that I produce, and that has made the difference. It may not be millions, but that too dwindles down to fractions when you have to split it 23 ways. YouTube, Lisa Left Eye, Lopez explains how to go broke after a platinum album. I never have to split a dime with anyone other than old Uncle Sam. I get paid first when a project is all finished. I live a millionaire's lifestyle, so I think I can buy a lot of Pepsi on my own. Thank you. To be honest, I'm probably better off financially than most of the people in your Spotify playlist, and likely the same of all the people in the room that night at the industry party. Here's why. This book is about being an undercover music CEO. The market trust manipulation I discovered will help you with creating opportunity of becoming rich, if you so choose, by doing your own thing in the music business, like owning your content. Now you're going to be exposed to some ideas that you've never heard before, but it's truth as I see it. And those you see as successful artists, musicians, producers who really are just corporate slaves understands the words that I'm about to reveal to you are truth. So ignore it at your own risk, because they all now know if they could just go back and change this one thing, that their entire lives would be different. Looking back on my life, I'm glad that I chose this path, because now I could live where I want to live, drive what I want to drive, eat what I want to eat, and wear what I want to wear, because I own it all. Let this be a warning to you. After you read the pages in this book, your life will never be the same again. Or you can choose right now to not go any further, to believe the lie, and to keep spinning your wheels trying to get on the radio. Or you could choose the red pill and go down the rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland and see how far the hole really goes. That's my Matrix joke. I know it's a little dated, but it's still the truth. I am Morpheus, i.e. the god of dreams, and you are Neo, neophyte, i.e. new. Now, for something seriously life-changing that has the potential to transform you from newbie to star you be, if you dare to discover the real secret of what's been holding you back, because I am about to reveal it to you through a little story. Once upon a time, there was a man who was very intelligent, but he was greedy, so much so that all he did was show how needy he really was. But he possessed a gift, the secret to making music everyone loved. He had a plan to shape the world to be understood, and like no one else, he began to play music no one had ever or would be able to reproduce again. And when he was finished only, he would have the power of fame and fortune of musical success. A long time passed, and the man became an old man, but still had not finished his business of becoming. And now his age demanded that he find someone to help, to keep him on task with completing his great work. So after much self-argument, he took an apprentice and began to teach him the craft. Together they completed the work, and as such, the old man would receive great acclaim from his work. Yet unfortunately, he died. Eventually, the apprentice too found himself old and estranged, having no one to teach his master's most coveted secret. Soon he too became loathsome and burdened with fame and money. Day and night he tossed and turned, seeing the memories of his great master toiling about his work within his dreams. It was a nightmare that the apprentice succeeded his mentor, and yet he longed to share this sacred information with someone, anyone else, but who was worthy enough to know and keep this craft a secret. Surely there was one in the entire kingdom worthy of doing so. Yet, because an apprentice must pledge their life with an oath to keep the secret, he would not burden another to do so, seeing how his master went to his grave, troubled about his great musical work. And after much thought, the apprentice came to the conclusion that the knowledge his master had discovered was a curse that no man could bear, and that no one was worthy to know what he had learned. Eventually, he too died, and the secret was lost forever. After some time, a young boy found playing around the village, wandered about, and found the apprentice's old abandoned home. As he entered, he shuffled about the cobwebs and through a door, found a little desk and many papers, and there he saw a handwritten letter detailing the work done by the master musician. It spoke to him in a whisper, and the more he read, the more his imagination grew. So he whisked the papers from the desk and took them home. The boy didn't quite understand what it was, yet was intrigued and began to read them more and more until he realized that what he had found had given him all that he needed to believe in himself. And as he grew, the secret written in that letter aided him to do the work of the great master. And unknowingly, undesirable to the boy, he would be the first to actually receive great fame and fortune from his work. When he had found other boys and girls like himself and taught them to dream, and together they established order that the one who does the work will naturally inherit the secret. And this order passed down throughout the ages new, until each new initiate throughout the entire world, whether known or unknown, would have this secret written on their hearts, and all who played an instrument for the love of play would have access to fame and fortune by all degrees. Many centuries passed, and some began to trade secretly outside of the established order. Eventually, the master's most coveted secret became a trade to the highest bidder. Soon after, what was sacred became common and trampled upon, and so went the allure of the musician's secret craft, and soon the peasant would sing through the streets, "Music is dead, dear friends." And that is truly the end of that story, which brings us to the present. What I just told you in story form is actually what has happened over the last century of music. Today, music, as the phenomenon it was, is dead. Likewise, so went the chances of living the lifestyles of the rich and famous, because you were fortunate enough to possess such a gift to dance, sing, and or play an instrument. Yes, that includes rap or make beats. Because now all people have to do now is search how to make a hit song on YouTube or whatever is popping by the time you read this book. The secret is out, and music is dead, my friends. That means for those who still guard the gate at the burning palace, people will now listen to the radio via internet, 5G, 6G, or 12G in all 11 dimensions in perpetuity throughout the universe of time, space, immemorial, just to get the mind control message out for colleges and universities, corporate businesses, educational entities, government agencies, and use music as the medium to keep the people distracted and asleep. People in your local area will need to know what to believe and get on board with their agenda. Do you have an agenda? Now you know where it came from. Although you may ask yourself, what does all this have to do with getting your music heard by potential fans? Oh yeah, about that. I'm going to get to that in a moment. But first, you need to know this. Radio is controlled by large corporations. Each station in the US at the time of me writing this book is controlled by one of three major labels, which are called the Big Three, which are Sony BMG, Universal Music Group, Warner Music Group. These media giants, who make up a great percentage of all commercial radio stations, are held or controlled by other even bigger giants, Clear Channel, Disney, Viacom. To break it down clearly for you, it means they own every radio station in your city, my city, and every other city across the US and likely other countries, which means they control much of what is seen and heard in media, such as television, films, which is just psychological war propaganda, and music, which has too been weaponized. To be certain, any and all mom and pop, college media, or news outlets not currently under their control will most certainly be eliminated swiftly, if any really still exist. I have seen the end of record stores and local movie stores, including the most popular AM station in town, mysteriously and suddenly go out of business with no explanation. But don't worry. All that means is that local artists now have to fight over being heard because they don't have a medium of exchange, which basically means the giants, large corporations, want to throw you in the pit and see who fights their way to the top of the pile so they can use what you have to further their agenda of the control of airtime and advertisements. Same game, different rules. Watch the original Hunger Games. They are telling you right there in the movie. Plus, they just brought it back, which I'm sure will tell you all the new rules. I'll skip this series, but you shouldn't. That is, if you want to know what to do to win, which is probably how radio is maintaining its presence during the age of the internet, is because people pay big bucks to get on the radio, and not even the average millionaire would flush their hard-earned money on a music campaign that could run up a multi-million-dollar tab just to get people to sing the chorus of a song. Come on, you got to open your eyes and see what's going on here. Even record labels, who are actually in the business of making money from music, have gone out of business because they still haven't quite figured out how to fiscally monetize streaming. According to dittomusic.com, listeners in the US will pay $0.0039 per stream, which equals bankruptcy. Don't believe me? Jay-Z said it best. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. That's why you must get serious about your music, because you have limited time to get famous and get your money. This is not some rant that I am doing about secret societies or anything like that, which based on historic evidence do exist. No, this book is about flipping common knowledge to help you understand the music business. Although I consider this the musician's manifesto, which may reveal that something else is going on, and perhaps that is more secretive than you or I could ever dare to dream. Regardless, what I want to tell you is that there are two sides to every coin. If you're familiar with the story of Two-Face, a fictional character from the Batman, the animated series, Two-Face, whose real name is Harvey Dent, is a criminal prosecutor by day and just a plain criminal by night. Secretly, Harvey is the leader of an ominous gang, mafia, and must hide a hideous scar on one side of his face from a freak accident while making the sight of his actions more terrible than the other side of his face. Naturally, he was once considered handsome and angelic, but now his soul is torn by murderous rage, which is why he gave himself the name Two-Face. To reflect his new nature, he carries around in his pocket a double-headed coin that has one side normal, and on the other side, a clawed scratch running down its face. And every person who encounters Two-Face is either greeted with great respect and love or murderous envy. And that's exactly what happens when you step inside the music industry. The industry has two sides like Harvey's coin: heads. The music industry is where you are applauded. Tails. The music industry stabs you in the back. On a seemingly random coin toss verdict, one side could land on you being a star and life is good. But then one day, tails, you meet Mr. Two-Face. Don't worry, with what I'm about to tell you will teach you a good first lesson in music business mastery. So pay close attention that you'll never forget what I'm about to tell you. Or you may get caught up in an old Two-Face's world of murderous envy. So let me share with you the true story of Lil Zip. Lil Zip is the new guy on the music scene, and he has a hot new single out called Roll It, which is being played every car that passes by your street. The streets say Lil Zip is incredible. He can dance, rap, sing. He's tall, short. He's sort of skinny buff. And did I mention tatted up? Yep, he's the right kind of non-threatening person they like. Wow. Now he is the hottest artist in the nation, and he gets on Snapchat to thank all his fans. 1 million followers. He's driving a cool car and thanking his fans for the support. And he says, I'm going to stay #1 forever. But will he? Coin toss, heads looks good. But let's try another toss just to be sure. Tails. Ah, I knew it. Now let's take a closer look this time behind the musical curtain and meet Two-Face, all dressed up as Harvey Dent, the music business lawyer. His eyes are glued to a computer and on a particular website I won't name, but everyone orders things to their front door. And on this website, people sell. And if you are #1, they'll post a tag over the product saying you're the best seller. It may not mean you are doing very well, but it doesn't matter because consumers will recognize that your product is selling, which will influence them to buy more of your product, which will increase profits. But let's look through Mr. Harvey Dent's eyes. On the other side of the computer screen is the back page where the numbers don't lie. And unless you're paying close attention to the story they are telling about your business, you'll think that you're a bestseller. But it could mean you aren't seeing much profit. And that makes a bad business. And you know what that means? Yep, Harvey quickly whips out the calculator to do some high school math. The numbers say Lil Zip's song is going to cost more to promote it than it's worth in sellable streams. Don't worry, we can always make up for it on the next song, right? Wrong. And out steps old Two-Face from behind the computer with a revolver, telling management to cut the money he loaned out before the end of the day, or they're going to put your face on a t-shirt after the one loud bang being the last thing you hear, which means you're out of business for good. Now let's toss the coin again. Heads. Okay, this time we found Harvey looking at his computer again. And in this scenario, Lil Zip is on social media thanking his fans and getting all the hearts, likes, and emoji faces and riding around in a luxury car. But guess what? It's not his. In fact, Lil Zip doesn't own anything. Remember, all the money is borrowed from Harvey. Got to keep up with the Kardashians. So he goes out to get a car leased by the label, designer shoes and clothes, all from a designer who works for the label and will put his clothes on anybody who is popular with kids, a gold chain and diamond watch, all leased by a jeweler who works closely with the label and supplies jewelry to all the artists when they're on camera doing their thing. A big ass crib so he can do it for the gram, that feeling you get by showing how baller you living when you post on Instagram. To be fair, Lil Zip does own one thing, a cigarette, and before he cuts the feed to his live video, it too will be finished and up in smoke, much like his career, because Harvey says he isn't selling any records, and streaming online is unprofitable. Damn, the okey doke did it again. The old two-faced music industry has found another victim, and like so many others before him, Lil Zip didn't bother to pick up a book like you and learn that the music industry is about business. And those who put on the celebration aren't doing it for the music, but for the money being made from it all. And Lil Zip is about to find out what sacrifice really means, because Harvey just called in his ticket. Oh, by the way, labels make more money from dead artists than they do the living ones. Google it. Now let's look at a real veteran Ice Cube and a favorite of Harvey's. Let's just say old Ice Cube decides to put out his final masterpiece album, much like his former NWA group member turned billionaire Dr. Dre did a few years back. You know, the one he said he was working on for 20 plus years that was never released, but said he realized after watching his son act in Straight Outta Compton as a younger him that he didn't feel the need to make any more music. Yeah, I can tell you what that was about, but let's just say you got a lifetime of drill and trap music, while he recently had an award named after him, where Jay-Z, one of his most notable songwriters, was the first recipient of the two Dr. Dre Global Impact Award at the 65th Grammys. Did I mention that during this same award ceremony, i.e. ritual, that Ice Cube accepted an award on the behalf of Dr. Dre's work with NWA, where living members of the group came together as the fifth ever rap group to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award, a group that is said to be started and funded by the CIA in order to infiltrate the Black community with mind conditioning through their music, to accept crack and gang violence as a way of life. I don't have time here in this book to put that together for you and stay on topic. All I can say is, if you don't know, do the research about the sound, the work, and the message of the four other groups they join. 3 Run DMC, Public Enemy, Grandmaster Flash, and the Furious Five and Salt and Pepper, and you will see what a difference the world has become since the inception of West Coast music gangsterism. Anyway, back on task. About day-to-day fictionalized operations between Harvey Dent and Ice Cube. He was about to put his final album out and will not be doing rap hip-hop albums again. Ice Cube released this album on the same day that our other fictional artist, Lil Zip, who, if you remember, has the song we made up called Roll It, using these two artists as a metaphor to teach you about what happens realistically in the music business with the budget and marketing behind a new artist and a very well-known established artist, i.e. Lil Zip, the one we made up, which represents you or another freshman artist, and Ice Cube, a popular name you may be aware of, but whose name can be exchanged for many other well-known artists. Okay, that's enough. If you don't understand, even with the explanation of my metaphor, put this book down immediately and go watch Love and Hip Hop cat videos on TikTok or anything that will get you away from this knowledge I'm laying down because you're not ready to pick it up. For those which are, let me continue. As I was saying, these two artists, Lil Zip, Ice Cube, debuted on the same day, but only one can be number one. And since Ice Cube peaked years ago, it's safe to say he's not going to be selling any Nikes to impressionable minds. For him, today is not a good day. Kids ain't trying to see his old ass Crip walk anytime soon, so his music streams are in the dump. No worries though, he's as cool as ice, and so is Harvey Dent. Why? Isn't that what made Harvey mad at Lil Zip in our earlier illustration? What's the difference with Ice Cube not getting any streams? Why isn't his money dialed back? Well, you see, it's because established artists like Ice Cube are called cash cow. And what that means is Two-Face judges him based on what he has done in the past, like the real life work we mentioned earlier, that he and artists like him has done, because that continues to be the most profitable work for them. They can use his music as established propaganda to serve bigger and better agendas. So you might not see a 50-plus-year-old Ice Cube selling Yeezys, but you might see him asking you to take back pain medication or to rock the vote this year, because artists like Lil Zip are called problem child. And you can push them out by the hundreds based on the YouTube search model I gave you earlier. And they, which control what you watch and listen, do have templates for that and control what's going to be the next big thing. Just turn on your radio. Where is the music you'd like to hear? As of yet, I still don't hear 5% of the music I listened to growing up, and that's hundreds of artists gone. But I'll say this, nothing happens just because, but it is with intention that you were told that Universal had a great fire where all of the great music of the last 50 plus years was destroyed. Okay, what about the millions of copies? Where are they? And why is that not available for purchase streaming? Anyway, something to think about. Not going to get off topic again. Let's continue. Lil Zip is off to do a Snapchat video, and Ice Cube is going live on air with the Breakfast Club. And today they're talking about his plans to go out with a bang. Ice Cube reveals his plans for the final album, followed by an NWA World Tour, a documentary, and including the long-awaited IMAX release of Final Friday, the movie everybody and their mama have been dying to see since the 90s. But wait, there's more. A live Apple Vision Pro show where they will bring back Eazy-E, the beloved deceased group member, via hologram, all thanks to his new sponsor, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who met with him about their agenda to use his music to promote safety in schools by helping to identify and stop an active shooter. Also, they talked about his movie series, Are We There Yet? Has so much influence with inner city folk that they'd love it if he were to write his next film about school children who are struggling against adults who refuse to see them as the non-binary engendered persons that they are. And everyone needs to know and understand that's who they are. Of course, since it's in the best interest of world humanity and the outlook that the community should have towards one another, not just the huge check he will receive. They all agreed that this is the best interest of everyone to do so. And after he gets off tour, he'll stop by Silicon Valley to meet with the team that's going to make it all happen, yada, 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 blah, 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 etc. Do you get the point I'm making? Established artists are playing the music business game, not the music industry game. Now ask yourself, is it worth playing the game at all? Paydays can come a lot of ways. And I think at this point, music is just a hobby. But We'll find out when your debut album drops. I bet at that point you'll come back to this book and listen. I know it's not funny, but artists like Ice Cube are laughing at you all the way to the bank because they understand what I'm trying to tell you. It's a game you can't win because you aren't one of the players within the music business game. So what do? You may ask, play another game. While artists like Ice Cube are gathering buckets out for their last sweep of millions, while he's been busy making millions more shooting movies, business lawyers like Harvey Dent make it happen. Meanwhile, you may never have access to such people who could have your whole life change with the approval of a devilish smile or a special handshake. Every seasoned artist knows this. And they too start out green and starry-eyed like you, but they were chosen by men like Harvey. They had no clue in the beginning about what they were really selling, their souls, which is an esoteric term, but has real life implications, which is why most artists disappear from the scene and fade out quickly, never to be heard from again. They are struggling to find themselves again. Ice Cube understands what's taking place and is down with it all the way. It's a game they are running on you, me, and the world itself. That's why they can go on vacation immediately after the interview and leave the world burning while spending all the money the wannabes of the world make for them. You see, the only way to get your music played on the radio is to be a Lil Zip, aka sell out. At this point, if anyone did, it would neither surprise me nor would I judge them, because it's hard out here for a pimp, aka the black man, black woman. If you are not in that category here in this Holocaust we are currently experiencing, then I commend you and congratulate you on becoming who you are. But just know that it's a game. And just like any game, there are sides. Just don't cross sides, because those who control the game and control what you have and what you do, there's always a special interest to take it back. While some will find favor and others will continue to play well, remember that there will be many others who will get the short end of the stick. Nowadays, that's getting shorter. That's not to say I don't have any knowledge about what we really are, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Just playing the game is enough to keep most people occupied and in such a low vibrational state that all it does is extend the clock for everyone else. So don't look for Martin, Malcolm, or Elijah to come save you. The only one that's going to make that happen is the person staring back at you from the mirror. And that's the realest thing I will ever say to you in this book. Well, you didn't come here to be preached at, and although I am a licensed minister, I will tell you that this is spiritual. Look inside and find out. But the reality is that you came here to talk more about your music career. So I know that I went on and on in this chapter, and this will likely be one of the longest in the book. But I had to get it all out up front. If this is going to be of any good use to you, especially you spending your hard-earned money and believing in yourself, so much as to get this book, I couldn't let you down by lying to you, and I know that's what we all want. But there is something in me and you that has got to hear the truth. So even though this book was finished a while back, I had to come back and update it with a spiritual overlook so that those who will use it will know the truth. And like the scripture says, it will make them free. But with freedom comes great responsibility, the responsibility, ability to respond to the truth when it is heard. The truth is, friend, you are better off getting a good paying job. Focus on building your credit and staying in love with your spouse, soulmate, or significant other, treating what family and friends you have as treasures you found underpriced, and building a home that everyone can come to and feel your kindness, generosity, and net of safety. because then you will know that the music you make is worth something to us as the collective, who will experience all of who you are within the work of your musicianship. Otherwise, you will be just like the others who, after chasing industry dreams, found themselves shipwrecked and lost at sea. The choice, my brother or sister, is truly yours. And with that all being said, I will end this very long chapter by saying this. The music industry can be better explained by this old Chinese proverb, which says, all kid do is listen to music, get high, and wear sneaker. Okay, it's not a Chinese proverb, and yes, I did make that part up, but just that part. But it is a word that you can use as wisdom to aid you in creating the change you want to see in life. Yes, having those things makes you popular when you're a teenager, but when you're 30 plus years old, trying to play that game won't help you pay the bills on time and take care of your real life responsibilities, like that family. I suggested you start on earlier. And even if that's not you, what I'm saying is that you don't have time to play musical chairs anymore. That day is over. And to prove it to you, watch a basketball game tonight and notice that you don't see an old man on the court. I mean, don't you think it's old men out there who can still shoot a little? But you know what? I think they were given a choice. They had to make up in their mind that it wasn't worth killing themselves over anymore and went home while others were forced out. Because it's a young man's game. A few years ago, some idiot made a stupid movie about an old guy who could ball Uncle Drew. I just looked it up. I didn't watch that garbage. I didn't even watch The Last Dance on Netflix either, mainly because I don't have time to think about TV. I'm too busy with creating my own works, like this book. But I know that is just fantasy to help middle-aged people feel like they can go a little further. But just know that even Michael Jordan is somewhere chilling with the grandkids, not trying to get in a pickup game of b-ball. He did what he did, and it's over. He knows that if he suited up again, they'd laugh his ass and the others off the court with them old moves because the magic is gone and the baton passed to another generation. But they will continue to use his legacy to sell you and your kids who never seen that black man play as magical as he did the sport of basketball to be crowned the GOAT greatest of all time and don't even know that it's him as the Jumpman logo, sneakers, socks, sweatsuits, hats, and other meaningless garbage with that logo on it, just so you can feel like you are still popular and stay asleep. The music industry is no different. They too need people to sell AARP, like Chuck D, when they get older, to speak to that generation who will remember what it felt like to hear their music for the first time and feel that sense of popularity again, like it was yesterday when they were young and ready to suit up against the establishment. So they just repackage Fight the Power with talking about discount on eggs, milk, cheese, and other groceries and incentives when you become a member. Because, well, you know what the system is doing to your Medicare welfare check? Way to go, Public Enemy. That's showing them who's got black power. Again, no judgment and no love lost for Chuck D, just like the Oracle said in The Matrix. We are all here to do what we're all here to do. So Chuck D, do your thing. But like I said, at this point, they can tell me Obama is gay as the pride flag and that Michelle is actually a transgender woman. Yep, heard that one too. But as long as they tell me while It Was a Good Day by Ice Cube playing as background music on my radio, I'll know everything is going to be all right. I hope you get the humor in all of this. If not, read this chapter again and remember that life is like snow on top of green grass. It may be frigid and cold, but when the sun comes back out, winter will be gone. It'll be spring and followed by an early summer. What that means is nothing lasts forever but everything comes in a never-ending cycle. The only thing you can count on after this is that you'll find yourself either moving on to make new memories with what you have and who you are, or back here doing it all over again, maybe still listening to Ice Cube's music. Those are facts. Everything in life has a cycle, and ignorance of that is what they want to have more influential over you, because it makes people money and keeps you under control. Just like they said in the movie, The Matrix Revolutions. They've gotten very good at what they do, but it's still all a game. When people hear music, they can be influenced to do most anything. Watch the club scene with actor Jamie Foxx in Netflix movie, They Clone Tyrone, and you'll start to see that they've been playing in your face all along. Established artists are just that, established, either by someone or some entity, such as the one of the 6 mentioned earlier in this chapter. And they have a purpose for creating Lil Zips and even keeping around dinosaurs like Ice Cube. Millions of dollars are to be made, but that's only an incentive to what is really going on behind the scenes. When you explore their levels of secrecy, mind control, hats off to our open enemy for doing such a wonderful job. Such a move has never been done on Earth and will not be recreated after this era of psychological, physiological, and spiritual terrorism has ended. We, the original peoples, will still be here, and from the ashes, create another civilization, as we have before, as we'll continue to do. Our collective agreement is that this will never happen again, much like others have attested to about their plight. Yet, I do applaud the Black man and Black women for getting the spiritual message through on the music, on vinyl, and tape. I understand the significance of why that too disappeared, thanks to an old Bobby Hemmett lecture I watched on YouTube. I and many others have decoded the spiritual messages you all were sending us at the same time, creating the greatest art the world, possibly the universe itself, had ever seen. Sadly, which they now use to indoctrinate us with consumerism, miseducation, and other worldview agenda. And while for many the party goes on, some of us picked up the truth you laid down in all those years of hard work with the master secret. And though it be eons ago what you've said, your words will echo throughout the ages, lighting souls with your candles of love, because your true work was spiritual. And as the prophets of God you are, we know that through your ministry of song, we will rise again. As for you who are the reader, I know this may be a hard pill to swallow, but as Morpheus told Neo, all I'm offering is the truth. In other words, taking the pill was your choice. But now, if you want to see how far the rabbit really goes, Alice, then what I'm about to tell you in the next chapter will blow your mind for real. Get the help you want. Join the 30-day artist course, bit.ly/60-day artist. Get your personalized music game plan, bit.ly/survive music biz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at iKeyMusic. Also, if this book was helpful to you, to show your appreciate and love, donate to the author any amount. Your payment is secure. Cash App, $WILBURN81. Chapter 2. What you put in the bag, you get out of the bag. So you better watch your back, Cass. I think they smoke crack. I don't doubt it. Look at how they act. Q-tip. This is the point where I get to tell you that everything's going to be okay. You're going to be all right. and just keep on doing your passion, and then something great is going to happen for you. Yeah, right. If you're not already getting money from your music, then chances are you're doing the wrong thing with your career and you're never going to get any money. That's why you're reading this book, because you know that someone needs to tell you the truth about yourself and your situation. Yeah, your music is great. It sounds good, but it's played only on your street. As a matter of fact, you probably have noticed your music probably doesn't sound too great outside of your bedroom studio, though. But by the time you finish reading this chapter, you'll know how to do great things with it from right where you are right now. Most people think they can do anything half-assed, meaning they buy some cheap speakers, use an old PC, and pirate a copy of Pro Tools, a bad microphone, and sit on the edge of the bed, sing or rap, and believe the song they record is going to be a hit. Give me a break. Remember these words. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. It takes integrity and work to make your dreams come true. And if you want to see your dreams come true, realize that you have to give it your all, i.e., what you put in the bag, you get out of the bag. Do you know how many artists want their music played so other people will hear them? Probably every single one of them. But how many are dedicated enough to put in the work, gigging at shows, touring each state, selling their music, special made at some big studio with the next upcoming big shot producer? Can you compete with that caliber of artist? If not, why not? Consider that you've never heard of more than half of the local artists in your town, but you should have an idea of how many people you can make a connection with. Make an effort to get a few contacts this year of like-minded people who also want to connect with other artists. In fact, make it an issue not to focus on getting your music out to everybody or to look like another industry big shot, but just to collaborate and possibly get a little more attention than you already have. There may be a host of other reasons why these other artists want to make a name for themselves, besides hustling and grinding like everybody else. Use their energy to make your dreams happen, meaning while they are out giving it all they got, while the getting is good, you focus on doing the work, because it's about making your dream a reality. Let me share another story with you. I was young. I'm talking about real young, but I was in the club with the best of them, on stage doing what all the grown folks do, trying to make my debut on TV and get paid. I was foolish, probably like most people there that night. I had good intentions, but since I received the invitation to be there, I didn't mind. I figured people wanted to know who I was and what I was doing at the time. Naturally, I assumed this was the path everybody took to get fame and fortune. So I just went along, and I was clueless what they, whoever they were, wanted to see in me. And being that I wasn't signed to a label, I thought that this was my ticket to being the next teenage wet dream. I figured I was doing something right because I was getting invited to studios, making connection with the right people, calling famous artists personally. And then the big thing happened, an invite to one of those secret parties everyone is now talking about. Back then, this was the kind of stuff you only whispered about. And meetings of this kind felt more like some big secret society stuff happening. Well, I don't have any juicy gossip. This ain't that kind of book. But I can tell you this. I now know a little something about backdoor meetings that you never get to hear about. And if you miss the point, you won't get the wisdom from the moment you missed. And that is this. You know that guy in your city that you thought was just a radio DJ. Well, he's likely functioning as a high-level label executive. And the only way to get your music in the loop is to be privileged enough to be sitting in the same room with him as he tells the platinum producer what to do for his next song. What could you say during that time to get noticed? The answer is nothing. I had to learn very quickly exactly how to behave when I was in the presence of Grammy winners and other famous people. Not that they are any different than you are or me, but there is so much emotional pressure trying to get an invite into a private party where most people want to be in order to get a deal. And it becomes a big deal if you blow it. In fact, one time I went to a producer's house who had a ceiling in his living room so high, you could shoot a basketball in it and not hit anything but air and the rim you were shooting at. I was blown away. But now I'm doing well. My ceilings in this house are high. I live in a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath, inside a garage with an entertainment room. The house costs $500,000. I'm good. But man, when I think about that dude's house, I get chills just thinking about how much money he must have had. But this is what I learned. The easy way of how to persuade people, the not so easy way of what to say to people, the super duper difficult way of how to present myself to those same people. In order to influence, command respect, and have the power to do all the things that you want, there is only one thing you have to do, and that is have some money. Believe me, I know what you're thinking, but think about it like this. You don't get what you deserve, but what you pay for. And the one thing I had to realize the hard way is that I couldn't get it because I was looking for a handout. But really, I needed the one ingredient that even the Bible says answers everything: money. In most situations, it would make the difference. All along, right in front of my face, right on the tip of my nose, I just couldn't see it. In behavioral psychology, Maslow's hierarchy explains 3 levels of understanding: a known, a known unknown, and an unknown unknown. In short, what that means is when you are in a mind state of a known unknown, you will perform between mediocre and mastery, and the difference in minimum wages and millionaire status is frustration. You won't know if what you're doing is right or wrong, and you don't know if you're on the verge of something big or just completely on the wrong path. You just keep wishing you can push through whatever is blocking you to achieve your dream. Like, the strange thing is there never seems to be anyone around who can see what you are going through or could tell you the truth about how to cross over and be successful. So instead of becoming a Michael or Janet Jackson, most people follow the crowd and end up like Lil Zip, the fictional artist from previous chapters. They think to themselves, it's better to at least have a name on Instagram, get 1 million followers, and be popular. But their followers are bots, and those who do pay attention long enough would quickly realize that their own lives are good in comparison, because you get a steady paycheck on your job. But secretly, he doesn't know how to make his content into a steady income, while you can start learning right now how to monetize your music. YouTube something like make money today with just 1,000 loyal fans. Maybe you're not convinced and you still think it's better to be in the position of popularity. If that's the case, then I'm going to tell you right out the box, I cannot help you. Put down this book and go play GTA 6 or whatever is going to help you escape from doing the work. Because real artists have to put up a fight. They don't just earn the right to other people's attention, they pay for it. When are you going to step out of the interest of just getting a bunch of social media followers just for hugs and likes? Why do you give a shit about who likes your music? The stuff you put out with your own money, time, and effort. You have to clock in out every day on that lousy ass job and put in overtime, pray hard, and save up just to get the limited red edition AKAI or the annual subscription from Splice, and put in work to distribute your stuff on TuneCore or DistroKid, just to see how many hearts and emojis a gang of internet trolls will give you. Disgusting. You putting yourself in that position is a lot worse than you think. And it's where you need to draw the line, because now you have been put back in a state of unknown, where you don't know what you don't know, which is going to make the real difference between failure or success. Don't you know what you don't know can kill you? However, being in a mental state of known unknown is safer because your ignorance keeps you in a constant state of watching your surroundings. And that's how you will know that there's something that you're missing, because you're watching for the answers. Rarely will anyone tell you what you need to do, but you can at least know there is a better way of getting the answer to the test, and that is to ask questions. In the book, Great Leaders Ask Great Questions, John C. Maxwell explains that the questions you ask qualify or disqualify you to discover greatness, which leads us back to my initial story. During my earlier years, I knew I could see around corners, so I told the head A&R of Motown. He responded, "Hey, I'm too old to see shit." And he was right. They don't see that you have what it takes. And forget about when they too needed someone to see something in them too. At the time, I was looking for that person, a mentor. I was in despair, which would explain why I couldn't find one to help me to save my life. Nobody wants to be associated with a loser and starting out as an independent artist. That's what I was in their eyes. So my intention wasn't to become a music industry expert, but as life would have it, through many of my experiences, I'd meet these celebrities, label executives, millionaires, or social media influencers. And each time they would force me to become one, because the more they said no, the more I would sharpen my presentation, until eventually, because of those things I mentioned earlier that I learned. I've been to be invited to their homes, on their tour bus, on stage, recording studio as the paid expert. Eventually, I created a process of using all of the information I had mentally filed away and began to understand exactly how to do what other more qualified people wanted to do, but I was there occupying the position. The one thing that matters is rapport, which is the conduit between you and the success you want to inhibit, but is in the hands of another person. This means you must establish respect for yourself and expand that towards others in order to produce the results you want to see. An important step toward the future success you want to see is to use a high level of communication. Get books written by Seth Godin, who gives tips on how you can gather your tribe by a process he calls permission marketing. Something that helped me put this together was rapport permission, which is why I understand that even though all the things that I was doing were right at the time, I still didn't know what I was doing wrong. And if I knew then what I know now, I would simply tell myself to back off the music industry people and go get your money by permission marketing. And that is going to make the difference in your life. You can increase chances of success or continue doing what you don't know that irritates the hell out of other people. Are you prepared to live that kind of life? If so, remember this: they don't want you as mentee, so they will not mentor you. They want another pet dog. Don't fall for the okey doke. Although I felt I just needed a little critique, a pointer or two from someone wise enough to tell me what to do with the gift, what I believed I had, that I could do something great in the industry. Let me be the first to tell you the truth. I've never found this person in the music industry. Over the course of my career, I've had the privilege to speak with people like Jocelyn Celaya, won a Grammy, nominated guitarist and songwriter who I met through the website score.org too, and others who took a few moments to give me some very encouraging words and advice that pointed me in the right direction. But these people never put their cape on to come to my rescue, nor were they ever who I wanted them to be for me. They were just other masters, perhaps paying it forward to a fellow musician. Looking back on all of this as I detail it here in this book, I wasn't doing anything wrong. It was just timing. And truthfully, my timing has always been off. What they said is right. Everything is 20/20 in hindsight. And looking back on this gives me a sharper eye so that now I can see. I was probably doing most things right, but that too can cause more issues because I was so good that I never considered more people were probably jealous that I was. Yes, I made a lot of mistakes, but it's not the mistakes that screw you up. It's the fact that you don't know you're so damn good that people hate you for just being you. Well, in retrospect, you can't win them all. So recognize the mistakes you're making and cut off the rest. This is feedback you will need to change what is necessary for success. Most of the time, the people you are looking up to aren't much better than you, but for them, it's that you don't know that they aren't, is what's going to really blow your whistle. Believe me, as an individual, you're probably better at being their competition. I'm guessing that's why Mr. Motown said no to me, because I'll do better without him, and so will you. Success is created, but it can be taken away if it's given to you. And if you're still finding yourself on the ground floor at this moment, then you level up by simply becoming the master at your own network. By continuing to make your own songs, you will level up. As long as you get it in your mind that wherever you are, you're in the right place at the right time, and only you can make it happen. The right people are here to see you, not the other way around. But it's going to take someone other than yourself to establish you as a viable artist in your community. But the good news is you can start meeting those people today by meeting with them and build a rapport by asking great questions. The more you listen, the more you learn. So do yourself a favor and listen more than you speak, because what you learn is within the words of what other people say, and what they say about you counts. But wisdom is in the silence between those words. And all of this great wisdom I learned from each and every person I've ever met. Surprisingly, not the high-level influencers. Now, I can show you exactly how to make your next best move by utilizing the everyday common sense of the average person. I'll prove it to you. Answer this. People say the sky's the limit, right? But that's wrong. There is an entire universe beyond the clouds. But what you accept as truth will keep you low in vibration or flying high in your vision. An airplane is a vehicle that takes you where you want to go quickly, but you either could drive, catch a bus, or ride a train to Mexico, but it'll likely take several days from where you live. Naturally, people just pay the price for the flight to get there quicker and without much delay. But if the pilot doesn't first complete his trip via bus, car, or train to fly the plane, you still go nowhere fast. So why don't you make an effort to get to the destination where you know it's easy for you to reach, than to make a fantasy dream come true? By having some inflated dream that is impossible for anyone to reach, you will never get off the runway, because nobody is coming to fly a plane that is determined to crash. But if it is, let me commend you for taking the step towards true success. But it'll also be your last. Since you've made it this far in the book, I think I owe it to you to say that it's not likely for you to become a special elite player in the music business, but you can do great things by changing the way you play the game and soar to higher heights in your career by becoming the pilot and stop waiting for someone to save you. I too was stuck in my mind about making it big in the music game. I'd gotten a couple of songs played on the radio, but that never got me any kind of record deal. I had my name mentioned in a magazine, but who the hell reads anything and runs out to find out more about a name they read in a magazine? I filmed footage for an artist that performed a concert with Gucci Mane at Bet Spring Bling. Not even a pat on the back. Also, I got 2 songs featured in an adult film with a famous adult film star, and I've sat down with studio managers, artists, DJs, producers, engineers, songwriters, and a host of other industry personalities about other songs I made. Nothing happened, or so I thought. One thing, I began to notice that I had done all of that by writing and producing songs for myself in my bedroom studio. It was then that I realized I truly was a music business expert. And even though I wanted to receive awards, fame, and fortune, what I had received is far greater, that I did make my dream come true, which was to be a music producer and work in the music industry, but I hadn't stopped to notice that I had accomplished so much more than I had ever thought I could. All starting at making that demo tape in the previous chapter. For me, music had become so easy to do that I didn't stop to appreciate myself for what I had done. So I asked myself, how do I get more for what I'm doing? The questions paralyzed me with fear. Then it hit me like a flash of lightning. If I could just get signed, I would have much more influence, power, respect, and credibility. Initially, I went through again, harder this time at the same route, but after a while, I thought about it again, and I realized the true answer, and I was obligated to be real to myself. The answer came from an email I received from the tour manager for Backstreet Boys. The message read something like this: Dear Terrence, music is not the 100% of the entertainment business. Comparatively, it is the smallest. Every year, over $900 million is made from entertainment. Last year, music made up only 20%. Find out how to make it into the 80%. Almost overnight, I adopted the mindset of letting them keep the fame, but I could keep all the fortune if I branch out beyond music. I'd rather have all the money, because at the end of the day, an award can't be cashed at the bank. Just take a look on eBay and see all the gold albums for sale by dead or dead broke artists. Pathetic. This is no shade against any award-winning artist. If you are one, I commend you. But you understand what I'm saying. Look, recently, Hollywood writers and actors went on strike. And if you didn't pay attention, many of your favorite entertainers came out and admitted they were broke. Some of them were caught on camera working a regular 9-to-5 job. And others break down on podcasts like Taraji P. Henson, telling you that what they are: overworked, tired, and underpaid. It's up. You and I know that there is nothing wrong with working a job, especially if it provides the financial security you need to take care of your basic needs and keeps the family comfortable. But how can you go work a job just to keep the lights on? After being the guy or gal that's been on TV for the last decade, I understand that it's embarrassing, but holding onto a decade or more of pride now has forced a lot of people who were holding out for the real payday to expose that it's not all good on the side of industry glitz and glamour, and that the big payday possibly ain't coming. So do yourself a favor. Pay close attention to the information I'm giving you within this book. The time of famous celebrities is over. Use what extra money you have and invest in publishing your own content online. Build a website, email responder, and a social media presence. Keep making songs, and one day, when more people find your music, they can enjoy all of what you've been doing. And you'll be glad you did, because you didn't have to keep quiet and hold out. The key to your success is simply to establish rapport. It is the ground floor and where your journey begins. Remember, record company rule number 4080. You better watch your back, because I think they smoke crack. Look at how they act. Get the help you want. Join the 30-day artist course. bit.ly/60-day artist. Get your personalized music game plan. bit.ly/survive music biz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at iKey Music. Also, if this book was helpful to you, to show your appreciate and love, donate to the author any amount. Your payment is secure. Cash App, $WILBURN81. PayPal, I am T. Wilburn at Chapter 3. Watch out for the hook. Males do not buy records and will not buy yours. Terrence Wilburn. Music done today, the easy way. Step 1, turn on the PC. Step 2, open the pirated software. Step 3, use splice or arcade loops. Step 4, record with autotune. Step 5, export to SoundCloud. Step 6, go viral. That was easy enough, but it's this industry stuff they got going on that makes it so hard. As much as I'd hate to sound like the old guy on the block, back when I was finding my way in this business, it just wasn't that easy. Before I really found myself as an artist, I was lost in a world of trying to find placements with my art. I almost went crazy trying to figure out what other people wanted, so I couldn't properly develop my own style of production. So I just put it all together like a gumbo, and what came out would sometimes taste delicious, but most of the time I didn't know what it was, but there was something there. I started to figure that out when one of the demo songs was stolen by a major artist, but I won't say any names, Jay-Z. In the process, what I realized is that I was on to something. I could hear a song and know where the bridge was going to be, where the hook should start, and how repetitive, etc. But I noticed that a hook, the repetitive and catchy part of any song, is not so much about the words that you say, but how it's said. A professional way of writing any song should always start with the chorus/hook. You should think of this part of the song as if you are going fishing. If you were to go fishing within a big city, there are probably not many places to do so. Perhaps if you did, you would find hubcaps, bottles, and cans, among other things, but probably not many fish. But you aren't looking for those kinds of fish you'd find in that type of environment either. So the question you should ask is, am I prepared to catch what I'm looking for? If you went out with a homemade pole and reel, the answer is probably not. But if you hope to, then you probably should purchase some professional tools. Otherwise, you're likely to miss the mark. First, you should begin by knowing what kind of fish you're after, then know where they are likely to be found on the water. Afterwards, it's all up to the kind of bait and your skills of catching fish. Likewise, if you use the wrong bait, you won't catch any fish. So think about it this way. Your fishing rod is designed to catch certain kinds of fish, which means in order to catch a bass, you would need the bait which attracts it, as well as a rod that can sustain the catch. Look, I'm not a fisherman, and I can't tell you anything about that particular sport, but there is a lesson we can all learn by just paying close attention to the difference between perch or a jellyfish, meaning you have the wrong bait if you are into rap game or looking for rock fans. Either way, your bait hook is the one thing that should always sparkle. And here's how to know if it does. Your fish will bite if your hook is sharp. Bass fish are likely to be large and could weigh as much as 20 pounds, so you're going to need a mighty large hook, do you think? Likewise, relate that to whether your song is right for women, meaning the smart fishermen always start with bait that catches the right fish. Does that make sense? Always remember, you're in the music business. And even though Diddy has recently been in some hot water, the bad boy was right when he said, it's all about the Benjamin's baby. According to songwriter Ralph Murphy, female buyers make up more than 50% of sales in buying music, and they make men buy the other 50%. But that's good news for you. Here's why. Your songs from this point forward will always bait females, because you now know to cater completely to the female demographic. That is your audience. So be the artist who shows up for the people who are going to come to your performance, listen to your music, and wear your merch. Don't be the idiot who falls into the gang trap of talking ridiculous about real life things and being the hard ass pimp. Will walk down the ops on the other block. That particular music is dead. They don't sell any records, and history shows us that the artists who follow that particular plan often find themselves unalive long before their best work is complete. So the music people are often exposed to has most women, mama, turning off the radio before she gets to the hook. Think about it. The block is vibrating with scary sounds and lyrics that completely turn off most females, which is why drill music doesn't make it to the radio. They are baiting fish with nails and catching hubcaps, tires, and broken bottles. Here's one of the music industry's need to know tips to remember. Males do not buy records and will not buy yours. To quote Snoop Dogg, an artist with one of the most long-lasting careers in music business across all genres, and undeniably the most famous rapper of all time, some of these niggas are stuck. In the music industry, when all this technology and shit came out, this fast-paced shit, they don't know what the fuck to do. And that old shit don't work no more. That's how I survived. I don't do old shit. I do new shit. That's how I'm relevant. You can't do old shit and think these new kids gonna fuck with it. How to spend the rest of your days catching fish. Start by making catchy hooks and presenting it to an all-woman audience. You may ask, what about all the gangster rappers who came out and sold millions of records? Here's what I have to say about that. Refer again to the above quote by Snoop. Yeah, they've been known to say some hardcore stuff, but in the next line, they'll sweeten it up. Plus, they're always playing nice with the ladies on camera by looking extra sharp and well-groomed in their video, because they have an entire team devoted to makeup, hair, manicure, and fashion, which is why women have bought their records. Go to YouTube and find the homie from Up the Block video, and you'll instantly notice the difference between his and the professional studio gangs. Now turn on your radio and listen, and I guarantee you notice that the artist is talking to the female audience. You see, that's why everyone is interested in Chris Brown. But if you've been dogging the ladies, then you'll never get any playtime. And that's one of the big reasons artists fail. So here's what we're going to do about it. Follow this advice and you'll be more likely to succeed, to know how the fish thinks, to choose the bait, to use the right hook. Women are the money controllers in every market. Just cater to that demographic and they will support your new music. Also, never accept the term, do what you got to do. Here's why. Sharks make bloody waters. In the music industry, there's no difference. The waters are filled with sharks who mess up everything. So find your own crystal clear blue waters, catching fish for days on end. The crowning moment of your life. If you are waiting for the moment to be crowned and become the next leader, you've become delusional. This will be a stark reality check for you, but it's much needed in order for you to move forward and establish your dreams as a reality. But first, let me tell you a story. The year was 2009, and I felt like the world's first idiot. I turned down a job to stay in a school that was losing accreditation. I was intent on pursuing a degree that led nowhere fast, just for bragging rights that I'd be the first in my family to graduate. Really? I was struggling, just trying to make ends meet. Sadly, that's the story of other struggling artists. They become enslaved by looking for a big payoff and miss out on maintaining a lifestyle of freedom just by keeping a decent 9-to-5 job. Yes, we've all heard about all the money they just seem to hand out to some big shot for creating the new dance craze. But let me ask you, what could you do with an extra $100 a day? Chances are a lot. In this economy, most people could live more comfortably and potentially stress-free. In fact, I will say this, if you're on a downward slope, then at least admit you need help fast. Overcome the bottom of hopelessness and turn it around by creating an automated passive income with your music. But you may require new skills. YouTube is your starting point. According to Dr. Abraham Maslow, human needs were arranged in a hierarchy with physiological survival needs at the bottom, and the more creative and intellectually oriented self-actualization needs at the top. Dr. Maslow termed human needs hierarchy. Maslow argued that survival needs must be satisfied before the individual can satisfy the higher needs. The higher up the hierarchy, the more difficult it is to satisfy the needs associated with that stage because of the interpersonal and environmental barriers that inevitably frustrate us. In other words, you may need to check off a few things in the following list before you continue your career pursuit of musical chairs. 1. Physiological needs are biological requirements for human survival, e.g., air, food, drink, shelter, clothing, warmth, sex, and sleep. 2. Safety needs are people want to experience order, predictability, and control in their lives. 3. Love and belongingness needs. 3. Love and belongingness needs refers to a human emotional need for interpersonal relationships, affiliating, connectedness, and being part of a group. 4. Esteem needs are the fourth level in Maslow's hierarchy and include self-worth, accomplishment, and respect. 5. Self-actualization needs are the highest level in Maslow's hierarchy and refer to the realization of a person's potential, self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth, and peak experiences. Secondarily, a technique known as the Johari window, 4 quadrants designed to help people better understand their relationship with themselves and others. Room 1 is the part of ourselves that both we and others can see into. Room 2 contains aspects that others see, but we are unaware of. Room 3 is the unconscious part of us that neither we ourselves nor others see. Room 4 is the private space we know but hide from others. Arena open. The open area is that part of our conscious self, our attitudes, behavior, motivation, values, and way of life that we are aware of and that is known to others. We move within this area with freedom. We are open books, facade/hidden. Adjectives selected by the subject but not by any of their peers, go in this quadrant. These are things the peers are either unaware of or that are untrue, but for the subject's claim. Blind spot. Adjectives not selected by subjects, but only by their peers, go here. These represent what others perceive, but the subject does not. Unknown. Adjectives that neither the subject nor the peers selected, go here. They represent the subject's behaviors or motives that no one participating recognizes, either because they do not apply or because of collective ignorance of these traits. Considering the above details brings us to a concept labeled by former U.S. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. Reports that say that something hasn't happened are always interesting to me, because as we know, there are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know, but there are also unknown unknowns, the ones we don't know, we don't know. And if one looks throughout the history of our country and other free countries, it is the latter category that tends to be the difficult ones. In other words, known unknowns refers to risks you are aware of, such as canceled flights, whereas unknown unknowns are risks that come from situations that are so unexpected that they would not be considered, which explains the hierarchy of your human needs, which shape your conscious experience. In order for you to perform at peak potential, you must master the quadrants. You must develop self-knowledge based on intuition that moves you from the novice who has absolutely no clue what she is doing to the skill of an expert or master. Michael Hyatt would say, only the actual experience of doing the thing for a minimum of 10,000 hours is going to make you a master. Realistically, that's about 2 hours a day, every day for 10 years. But the question is, do you have that much skin in the game? If not, then why not? You have to go through it to get to it. So get started, because there is no better time than right now. If you think something is preventing you from going to the next level, listen to Power Talk by Tony Robbins. In the audio, he says, a lot of people say that they've tried everything, but the fact of the thing is most people only try a couple things and they do it over and over again. But the reality of the situation is that that is the exact definition of insanity, which is to do something a bunch of times that's not working, expecting a different outcome. Wow. You see, Tony Robbins is a man who has helped people break through to the next level in life. For most people, to achieve their highest goal is to attain their highest self, which adds more spiritual life and prosperity. And what it means for you may differ, but should allow you to shift into the next level with comfort and peace of mind so that you may create the best possible outcome right now. For you to do that and to live the kind of life that you've always dreamed begins with taking a new action. I know, because I'm one of those people who believe that statement. And the first thing I did after listening to that audio was to be completely honest with myself. I tried a couple things to make my music work, maybe even 3 things, but I hadn't tried everything. Because if I had, then something would have worked by now. And at the time, back in 2009, it hadn't. So I ask yourself, what is it that you've done 2 or 3 times over and over and over again that's not working? And if you are willing to try again or create a new action, okay, different strokes for different folks. But I declare you to be insane if you can read that statement and continue to perform the same tasks out of conformity, comfort, or necessity of fitting in with the crowd, Just stop doing what's not working. Think for a moment. What exactly is the problem in discovering your true potential? Exactly how good are you at your current art form? Rate yourself 1 to 5 stars. No one has to know. The good thing about it is if you suck, you can improve. But if you think that you can't, then you're right. Either way, you're far more advanced than some people just because you showed up. The majority of people never have the courage to step out as a real artist or musician, but no one is going to celebrate you for being their op. You, my friend, must lead the pack by becoming outstanding when it comes to your music career. Present your next song at a live or open mic, get real feedback. Use Instagram and TikTok to include people in the conversation, not shout about your music. A lot of people are doing right now. Celebrities have actually hijacked the underground scene because they understand that an iPhone performance in their living room saves them millions in touring expenses, but will bring back as much in revenue as they put out in ad spend. See, now the playing field is level. There are no more rules. You hold the same cards as a big record label, which means pay close attention to what other people are doing that works. Otherwise, you'll lose out. For example, imagine that it's suddenly raining coins from the sky, but all you had was one bucket with holes in it, but you only have seconds to grab all you could within the bucket without allowing it to touch the ground. Wouldn't you want your bucket not to have a giant hole right in the middle of it? So why don't you go buy a new bucket? Because that's what you've been for a while, using the same old bucket full of holes. Let me set something straight. Firstly, money never rains from the sky and never will. But let's say for one day only, God sent a special message from heaven saying it was going to rain change from the sky. But you found yourself stuck in a hospital bed with pneumonia. Would you still be able to get out there and grab all you can get? Potentially, you may attempt to claw your way outside, as shown through the hospital gown and all, while still hooked up to the IV machine. But realistically, most people wouldn't be able to make even that short trip outside because they'd be too likely concerned about their own personal health. So they wouldn't dare to risk death over a little pocket change. But you know what? I'd bet that a nurse or a good-natured soul would hear about what you're going through and come to your bedside and say, hey, you don't have to worry about nothing because I'll be outside with 2 buckets, one for me and one for you, because you shouldn't have to miss out on what God is doing. You could relate that kind of person as a fan. But in the music business, it's a winner takes all plus some type of game. So you can't look to them to help you fill up your bucket. Understand? That's why you must always be ready to make your best move now and repeat it time again. That's what we're talking about. Finding the solution that's going to work for you. Getting started means you got this book, but action is going to help you to achieve the success you want. If there is something blocking, you might be surprised to find out what it really is. Do you want to know what it is? Okay, look in the mirror. You see, if your passion is to live the life of your dreams, are you sure music is going to be the road to that kind of life? You don't need a degree to understand gravity. Just simply run outside, jump up in the air horizontally, and flap your arms as fast as you can. Soon, you're going to fall. But if you really wanted fly, all you have to do is book a flight, not study the laws of inertia and aerodynamics. Simply choose your destination, and poof, you're there. Most people don't get it. They spend all their time trying to reinvent the wheel, but you can shortcut time by working with what other people have already done. Otherwise, you'll start a fight with ghosts you can't see, trying to reinvent the wheel, and it will begin haunting you that you can't. Spending time doing small things will equal a lesser amount. Time doesn't equal money. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. Kobe Bryant made over $600 million during his career with the Los Angeles Lakers. Tragically, he and his eldest daughter, his personal pilot, and 7 other passengers all died during a short distance flight from his home in California that was supposed to take him and his daughter to an early basketball practice. As sad as this was for the world, to Kobe's widow, Mrs. Vanessa Lane Bryant, the 3 daughters he leaves behind, and the family of those who perished with them, I'm sure that Mrs. Bryant would gladly give every single cent just to have them back, just to spend a little more time loving them. Because she didn't lose a great athlete, but their family lost a husband, father, daughter, and many friends. Because time is infinitely more valuable than money. Does that make sense? So stop wasting your time trying to get industry people to help you. You're your bucket full of holes. Trading time means there must be a value in place. That is one of the laws of prosperity. That reciprocity must be involved once you develop your passion into a viable trade. Meaning, in order to get back the time you spent making music, you must be fully invested in the sale of that music. Therefore, if you are just looking to finish a project and never start making money from it, there will be no money ever to be made from it. You and the music will be stuck at the computer for time to come without any gains. Invest in a sales funnel and local advertising, just like the big labels. It's far more profitable than doing nothing and insanely expecting something in return. I almost went crazy trying to figure all this out, but with a little help from direct advertising books and courses on marketing, and yes, lots of prayer, I found out 7 things that work for me, which are likely the same things which are holding most people back from living their dream of becoming an artist. Yes, there are levels, but I'm comfortable in mine, but I know how to increase my comfortability in order to grow my artistry and fan base. As long as I have this blueprint and use it, I'm unstoppable, and you can be too. Here it is. If most people suffer from the same things, then I suffer the same things. What are those things, and how may I eliminate one or more of those things immediately? If I want to see results, one of the best things I could ever do is discover what I want. What specifically do I want? If I found out that no one was coming to my rescue, and that is the case, then it is up to me to do it. How can I start now? If I've made up my mind that I was going to do a particular thing, then that thing must be done in a certain way. What do I need to do to ensure that thing is done? If I must do something immediately, then that causes unwarranted stress. How necessary is it to perform that task? And will it create a more peaceful environment? If I was going to drown, what would I be willing to let go of to stop me from going down? Have I discovered a path to the success I desire, or have I begun to realize that I'm living in someone else's idea and dream? Answering these questions takes coming into a self-realization of potential. Believe it or not, analyzing past failures is the key to living a more fuller life filled with potential. This may sound cliche, but it's true. Your mind is programmed to succeed. Regardless, you always get what you want. A spooky idea that may change the way you think about yourself and your situation. Like I said in earlier chapters, I will say again here, this book is about getting you in the mirror of truth. And as soon as you do that, you can pause a moment and acknowledge a few of your greatest failures, which may be the key to unlock the success you desire. Jot down the experience you've had that you felt were failures. Then ask yourself, what can you learn from it to move forward? Set that as law and do it from now on, and never break the law of self again. Think about your favorite food for a second. If someone brought you a plate of your favorite food and told you to eat as much as you want, you probably bite your tongue a few times. Relate that to what it's like doing something for the first time. When learning your native tongue, you discovered how to read and write by learning the ABCs and making many mistakes before you did it right way. Nothing has changed. You continue to do everything the same way you did then by messing it all up first. But we've gotten good at maybe doing a little run after tripping because you're afraid to let people laugh at you falling. And I believe that is why most people are stuck with their problems, because they want people to think they are so perfect and can do it everything by themselves. And that's the true definition of insanity, which is just living outside of the reality of time and space, i.e., what's happening now and where you are at the moment. If you put your finger into the electric socket, you would be electrocuted. The electricity is not racist, prejudiced, homophobic, or any other bias. It comes out the way it is modified, meaning you're supposed to plug something worthy of transmuting its form into usable energy. Otherwise, potentially you will be fatally injured. So it doesn't matter if you did it in the morning or at night before bedtime. The time wouldn't change anything if you make a positive affirmation about yourself before doing it. You'll still be chilling in the county morgue. Don't put your fingers into any electrical socket. It's designed to give you electricity, and that's what you're going to get. The same thing about the music industry. Put in what you expect to get out in the way it's designed to work. The kind of person that can run a studio, be an artist, or own a record label is the kind of person that is expected to run a business. So you're preparing for service in a business that caters to specific musician needs. Start there. By defining what you do, you will attract people who do need your services the most. So do that. Jot down a few notes from local advertisements. Any serious professional is already doing that. So start by checking local ads. Call them and ask, how can you be of service with what you do? They don't need any musicians unless it's an ad for that. Unless you play a guitar like Prince or can dance like Michael Jackson, find out what other skills sets you have to offer will fit their business needs. Do some research on what they offer other musicians and decide what you need to change. Here's a hint. Most people need a runner or extra engineer assistance. After you get in good, I'm sure there will be other opportunities to show skills. I'm sure it has nothing to do with getting better at music. You're likely already better than most clients they see during the week. But at least find out, remember, people don't care about your equipment. You just need to show up and perform. Most artists realize this is not the moment they make it big, but the moment they set out to really accomplish their dream. Be forewarned. No matter how good you sound, how great you can dance, or how good you look, the ending is never like the movies. It's never going to be that easy in real life. In fact, we've all been trained on the fairy tale Happy Ever After by Disney. But the facts are, there is no such thing as a happy ever after for anyone. Life continues. Today you're up, tomorrow you're down. Today it's hot, tomorrow it's not. Remember the quote from Snoop Dogg, don't do old shit, because when it comes to your dream, no one is coming to the rescue. Save yourself. Watch American Idol. People stand outside for days, sweltering heat, pouring rain, freezing cold, danger of sexual assault, and worse, then somehow make it inside in top condition to audition for a bunch of strangers who are judging them on everything but their talent. To make things worse, if chosen, they must come back repeatedly just to humiliate themselves in front of a much larger set of strangers each time. And maybe, just maybe, if they don't kill themselves from all they've been put through, they get to do it all again. This time in front of a live studio camera with the entire world of strangers watching. In the end, the process continues over and over repeatedly before they are signed to a standardized record deal known as the problem child. Google it. A deal they probably don't even want anymore because it includes 7-year slavery and includes much more public humiliation and not much money. Even so, there are really only 2 American Idol winners, Kelly Clarkson and Fantasia. I dare you to name another. Oh yay, name their chart-topping song that everyone sings at the BBQ. My point exactly. This has been what's going on in the music business for a long time. Just go on TikTok and search for out-of-work musicians and watch what happens because no one ever gets the movie ending. One of the best music movies, I think, that has ever been made about the industry are 8 Mile starring Eminem. The other, I'm almost sure no one else watched except me and the guys from Metacritic. Sparkle, starring R&B angel Mariah Carey. Naturally, you've seen rapper Eminem play out his trailer trashy life story on the big screen. But which was the better movie? I can tell you that Rotten Tomatoes gave her a rotten score, but I believe Sparkle was the better movie. Eminem's 8 Mile may have had a chart-topping song, Lose Yourself, noteworthy, but name any other song from that soundtrack except Sweet Home Alabama, which doesn't count, because it's not an original song from the movie, and besides, who doesn't like Sweet Home Alabama anyway? That's exactly my point. 8 Mile was a drab. You wanted it to be good, but sadly, it wasn't. You likely just transferred good feelings to the movie because of that song, and it co-starred the very hot and sexy Brittany Murphy, R.I.P. But seriously though, Mariah Carey was good in Sparkle. Go watch it. As the movie tells your personal story as an artist trying their best, she was desperate to make it big, much like you. And she's fighting her way to the top, much like you. She gets what she wants, much like you. And it's passionate how it happens too. You can feel her pain and her struggle against naysayers. No, Mariah Carey is not the greatest actress, but the story she played was much more heartfelt. Because if you have a dream to be a star, you will really feel her story and relate to her life-like experience, unless you're from the trailer park. Then you may want to view 8 Mile at least a couple more times to see that point of view. But the movie Sparkle shows you what it's like for someone to experience real industry rejection before fulfilling their dreams, to get signed and make their musical dream a reality if they stick to it. While 8 Mile gives you a bunch of fluff about a white boy who could rap and everybody loves him, but just because he won a single rap battle, who cares? It even won an Oscar. But like I said, who cares? It wasn't a good movie. Sparkle was so much brighter and real to life. But I did learn something from both films, how to hustle. And that is the road we take back to our topic, why most artists and producers fail, simply put. The major reason is because they don't recognize self-potential. After watching both movies, it became clear what I had to do, and right away. I knew that for anyone to make their dream come true is to do one specific thing, and that is to take action. Go watch both Sparkle and 8 Mile. Both actors did a pretty good job. Not a great job, but a pretty good job. Oftentimes, it's the supporting roles who do a better job because it's their part to make the star look bigger than life. And that's exactly what happened in these respective films. Mickey Pfeiffer, Brittany Murphy, and Max Beasley were all veteran actors, and each did their job at supporting the would-be stars, Marshall Mathers, Eminem, and Mariah Carey in their respective movies. Which is why you'll soon fall in love with the inspiration movies like these will give you in their true-to-life depiction of music industry success. You may find that you disagree with which movie is best. If so, it's cool. We all get to choose. Sometimes I just like a pretty face. Why not Mariah Carey? She sings and she's pretty. I don't know about you, but my bat just doesn't swing that way for Eminem's. Mic drop. Discover your own supporting actors. Think about who's going to help you fulfill your dream of being a star. Just like in the movies, you must first realize your own self-potential before anyone will help you. Watch my exclusive Music Marketing Vault playlists. Get the help you want. Join the 30-day artist course, beat.ly/60-day artist. Get your personalized music game plan, bit.ly/survive music, biz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at iKey Music. Also, if this book was helpful to you, to show your appreciate and love, donate to the author any amount. Your payment is secure. Cash App, $ WILBURN81. PayPal, I am twilburn@gmail.com. Cash App, $ W. Chapter 4. My experience as an independent artist and producer. You can't depend on others to make your dreams come true. Take control of your own destiny. Master P. Here's why everything is wrong when it comes to making your own music. Oftentimes, producers find themselves copying the style of other producers. But here's a special tip for you. That's a super bad idea. See, music is more than about you. It's about the expression of who you are, what you feel, and the rhythm of your heart. If your soul is just the inhibition of your thoughts, then it's your job to show the world what your entire soul experience is about. And that is the reason for music. Just think about the genre and sounds of the songs and bands you loved to hear when you were growing up. What that means is music is your passion. It should be about everything that you desire. And with that said, it's the reason that you must express yourself through an instrument of your choosing in order to find the certain sound your soul desires to express. That's why you find producers using the same instrument for decades, even long after becoming successful. Let's take producer extraordinaire Pharrell Williams, for instance. During his career, Pharrell has won multiple awards for his music and has sold records beyond what most musicians will ever accomplish. And I'm sure these days he has many shiny instruments and keyboards, but he was known for using the Korg Triton and Micro Korg when he started nearly 3 decades ago. And still, if any song he produced plays on the intercom at the mall, everybody would stop and do a dance. Sure, a Grammy-winning producer might be able to afford all types of instruments and people to work with, but usually those instruments are for other musicians to help produce the song's background instrumentation. But they always run back to their trusted fave instrument for a particular sound. And that's why you always know who produced the song, because he is using the same instrument each time. It doesn't matter if it's rap, trap, hip hop, R&B, rock, or punk, it's going to be the same horn, same drum kit, and the same VSE software each song. It's the same reason why you bob your head or tap your feet. And it's especially the reason people get up and dance every time his music comes on, because he's mastered using one instrument. Although most session musicians will use other instruments and software to help produce certain melodies, riffs, and chords that are heard in the background, which livens up the song. They too must be using the same instrument each time. As a reminder, I took this pledge years ago when I first started making music, and I'm glad I did. Always do you. Watch this video of Pharrell Williams at Chad Hugo, aka the Neptunes, NERD, talking about studio equipment. There were originally 3 parts, but I could only find part 1. HTTPS www.youtube.com/watch Vsauch Wazoo DJKW6AQ. It's mind-blowing, at least it was when I started out. A lot has changed since that time, but Pharrell's advice helped me a lot in music, and I'm sure it will help stand the test of time and help you too. The truth will stand, and this will too, because it's good advice for any newbie producer who wants to know how to get that honest to life platinum radio sound. So get the hell out of your own way. There are many ways to produce the music you want, but out of all the ways that I could tell you about how to produce music, I'd rather tell you a story about how I made the music work for me and how you can do the same, because there's only one thing that's going to help get your next song played by people who will care. Let's talk about equipment. You probably think you got to have the best in order to make music like the pros, right? Wrong. It's not about the equipment you use. It's more about how you use what you have already. And what you do after that is get a great mix. That's probably the most important thing you can care about, your own music integrity. But in a world that's losing more and more ground to really bad sonically tuned music, not even that is not going to matter in this climate of music industry. Today, you should be focused more about the network you are connected to, and I'm going to show you how to build your own army of talented artists and producers who madly want to help you get involved with making money with your music. Perfect example. You don't need to know how to shake hands with Grammy winners, but if you met one, it probably would help if you wanted her featured on your next project. Simple things like this can be learned by reading books and studying leadership experts like Brian Tracy's. High-level sales skills and the habits of highly effective people by Stephen Covey. There are many things like that you can find at the biggest library on earth, Google. Here's an important thing that I want to share with you. Never ever get involved with the debate about what equipment to use in your home studio. The equipment you like to use and what the so-called experts claim you should not be using is the biggest hoax in music history. As it turns out, you can make music on anything that has a record button. Wow, a mind-blowing revelation for those who may come from my era. And although you may think I'm joking because of the simplicity of what I just said, but there's a real life story attached to it. Sometime around the year 2001, I made my first demo by using a stereo cassette player, a boombox, and a third cassette recorder that had a handheld 8mm microphone input attached to it, kind of like the one you see in the old private detective movies. But wait, there's more. Since I didn't have a drop of professional studio recording experience and nobody there to help me figure it out, I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to record music like this. So I just kept going and used the stuff that was laying around the house at the time as studio equipment, like my mother's VCR. I recently learned that the rapper Pimp C from the group UGK did the exact same thing, and that made me feel proud, a little late, but still a good feeling that someone I idolized as a teenager was somewhere in the world around that same time, just trying to make the best of what he had as well. Here's how I did it though. I put a cardboard box over a boombox stereo to trap the sound coming from one detached speaker into the cassette recorder while playing the instrumental track on my mom's home stereo, which I also trapped that sound into the boombox via RCA cables found behind the VCR. For those not born in the olden days, Google it and get a laugh. I then modified the cables width so that I could run the sound from the stereo back into the input of the boombox in order to record my voice and reduce the slap delay feedback onto the tape recorder parked next to me on the floor. And I had to do all of this in one take and quickly press stop, or I had to redo the entire song from the beginning. And trust me, it took a lot of time to get it just right. Basically, I ran an entire recording studio without an engineer. Back in the days when that actually meant something. Nowadays, they have apps and you can record a hit song and a video in 2 minutes. TikTok. I'm sure Hype Williams is turning over in his grave. But back then, it was a lot of work. And yes, it was that complicated. I just flipped it on a budget of about $35. But that's when I realized I could do this over and over again with just the stuff I had just laying around my room. Looking back on it, I really don't see how I did it. Even right now at this moment, it's boggling my mind to say how I did it. And I would say now that was crazy. But listen to me, crazy is exactly what it's going to take for you to live your dream. You don't need permission anymore. Make it happen by any means. I did it, others have too, because we all have one thing in common. We didn't let anyone tell us we couldn't do it and believe them. Which is why I'm able to write this book and tell you that I want you to be able to live your dreams too. All I'm saying is now, things are different, but you can still make it mean something to you. You can make the dream real by using just what you have right now. Right now, you are in the position of a lifetime. You can make a great song right from your laptop or mobile device. And the best part is you can do it from anywhere. It doesn't have to be inside a professional studio. Back in the early days, there was a legitimate reason to argue over what equipment to use. Maybe because of the quality of sound in a session or an instrument. But if I had even remotely heard someone say that, I would have never tried to make my demo. It likely wasn't the best quality recording either, in fact. If anyone had bothered to notice the contraption that I'd come up with right there in my mom's small 2-bedroom apartment, they could have easily convinced me that I would never accomplish my goal of making music. And it's a good thing they never did, because I didn't need to hear that. I didn't need anyone saying anything to me except what my own heartbeat was telling me, that I can do this. My soul wanted to be a star, so I made it happen by any means. Just like 8 Mile, just like Sparkle. They did it. So can you. Right now, you have access to the world's greatest tools, and there is absolutely no time to waste. There is a scare ratio that comes along with having access to mobile devices and apps, which is why you are reading this book. You simply may not know what to do, but if you start to ask, which one do I use? Then you will certainly fail. My suggestion for you is to stop listening to all the internet voices debating about what you should be using, i.e. Pro Tools versus Ableton, Logic Pro X versus GarageBand, FL Studio versus MPCX, ad nausea. Many have proved that there is no right way to record music. In fact, many of the greatest songs were recorded the wrong way. that tells me that the only way to do it is the way you want to do it, just get it done. And all of that depends on one, how much money are you willing to spend? Two, how much you already know about music. And three, what you must learn in order to get it done. This is the learning curve that everyone must journey, and it is yours alone to travel. Trust me, it cannot be shortened. But the good news is you got this book, YouTube, and social media to help you in learning whether you can easily get it done or not, because those things will vary by your own self-beliefs and ability to become skillful during this process. In the meantime, your honest evaluation of yourself should be that you are learning. Make yourself a student of the greats. This is the only thing you must be ensconced with during your musical career, because they laid the blueprint for you. You should study it because it works. And in music, it is all that matters most. Are you a born star or are you a complete loser? Chances are you're not. But you can use this book to become a winner by playing your own game. Just listen to what Eminem said in the song Lose Yourself. Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? You can do anything you set your mind to, man. As a young man, these words fueled me, because when I started out as a recording artist, these words were the only thing I heard that encouraged me to pursue my dreams. I couldn't afford a fancy track recorder. There was no computer for me to use, and I didn't have much musical skill at all, but I had know-it-allness. That meant I could use my mind to do everything from scratch, from beginning to end, and trust me, it took all night long. But what I found within myself is a dedication to the craft of getting shit done. And the only secret I discovered was that the same recording techniques I thought I was making up, I later find out that only professional engineers knew about it, because they too had started out just like me, connecting things they found laying around their bedroom that didn't belong together, creating a custom gear culture that gets the job done. So my question to you is, do you have that kind of tenacity to get shit done? Apparently I did, but I didn't know it at the time. I hadn't read a super awesome book like this, which tells you how to do things the right way. But after some trial and error and not burning the house down, it was all along the right thing at the time to help me work towards fulfilling my dream. And even though I felt like I didn't have a smashing demo, some people liked it. And as bad as it probably was, I wish I had a copy just to hear it again and smile. I asked around, but that was so long ago, nobody I know has one. But I can always close my eyes and relive those strange sounds again, which warms my heart. The good news is I passed them all out at a BMI networking party. I didn't get a ton of callbacks, but I never regret going either, because I knew I was on the right path. Although I felt jaded and afraid to share it, because they never knew that I did it at home with a boom box and cardboard isolation, it still got me into my first celebrity party. A couple of years later, I did the same thing, this time with a Philips CD-RW burner, another 8mm mic, and this time a leg stocking for a pop filter tucked away inside a Pringles can, which was hung from the ceiling by a thumbtack. Mama never did find her stocking. Haha. Sidebar. I just watched the Netflix documentary, The Greatest Night in Pop, about the greatest night in music history, where all the celebrities got together and sang We Are the World. And guess what they were using? You guessed it, pantyhose for a pop filter. And all I could say was, wow. I went on to make my second demo trial and error too, and registered for the next BMI networking party. This time it was more upscale and I was ready, with CDs in hand. Still not much luck. I did meet a few celebs though. An odd thing happened as a result. Strangely, it was getting late and starting to snow. So we wanted to leave before the black ice started forming on the streets of Atlanta. So me and my part-time manager issue friend at the time was leaving the building. Upon walking across the parking lot, I passed the last demo I had into the hands of a well-dressed middle-aged white man who was getting out of a Lincoln Town Car. And as he approached, I knew I only had one shot before he briskly walked towards the building entrance, and it was cold, snow on the ground, in Marietta that night. So I quickly gave an introduction and told him to give it a listen, but even if he didn't like it, to give it to his kids or something. He politely agreed, tucking the CD into his tailor-made overcoat pocket. By his calm demeanor, I had a feeling he had to be someone important. I felt it, but I just never knew how important. I got in the car and headed back across town to Decatur to lick my wounds and contemplate what, if anything, I had done that was good. Weeks later, I felt an explosion of shock and awe as I turned on BET 106 and Park to see a brand new video with a song whose instrumental and sampling pattern sounded all too familiar. Yea, they beefed it up, but I knew better because there is no such thing as a coincidence. One of my demo songs had been stolen. Show Me What You Got by an artist known as Jay-Z had peaked at #1 on the charts, and boy, did I feel sick. No, I didn't sue. I felt it was worthless to make a beef. Plus, I didn't have the money or clout to have anyone challenge it. I did hate him for a while because I felt like he was talking to me at the beginning of the record. Go back and listen to what he says. Was he speaking to me? I don't know. But again, I do not believe in coincidences. I really don't know how to feel about it now. I just don't feel anything about it now. I just thought I'd memorialize those moments of failure you might experience as an artist so that I could illuminate the greater good of what you will learn from moments like this. And that is, pain comes from the pursuit of your dreams, but you must persevere. If it is really connected to your purpose, you may go through hell being an artist and someone shares your songs with the world and it's not you singing. If anyone from Rockefeller Records, its partners or affiliates, would like to chat about this statement, see my attorney. What I realized back then is I started making mixtapes right there in my bedroom, but it still wasn't a full multi-track studio. I had no power to control what I put out into the hands of the world after it was in their hands. One thing for sure is there was a lot less hassle I would go through after that ordeal. And I have to say that I've come a long way just doing my own thing. So I guess if anything, I should feel honored that somehow through someone, one of the music greats got hold of a demo that I made in my bedroom studio. From tapes to CDs, now I had a process and I began to replicate it in everything I would do from that point on. But I still had a lot to accomplish and a long way to go. Not quite professional gear. I thank God computers weren't being used at the time to record. I would have never have had the capacity to learn, not that I didn't love computers, but I couldn't afford to buy one, mainly because just an average one was very expensive at the time. And my daily budget was about as much as the cost of a beer can. So I just kept flipping it like before and kept making my own studio equipment, using whatever instrumentals I'd get my hands on, just like I'd done with the cassettes. Finally, I had a digital sound. It was more compact to carry than a pocket full of tapes, which was a good thing because the music scene was changing fast and I was already ahead of the curve. In those days, the only thing I'd found close to music production software was an installed app on Microsoft's Windows called Sound Recorder. I just checked. It's still on here, LOL, but it looks like they beefed it up. Back then, I couldn't figure out what in the world it was good for. Plus, I'd already upgraded my microphone from an 8 millimeter to a 1/4 inch cable, and I felt I was recording in the dynamic sound of a stereo microphone everybody was talking about. Also, it would have been expensive. I'd have to buy a sound card, and I didn't know if it would work very well, but I did toy around with the idea a little bit. I figured even if I could somehow get the darn thing to record, I'd get something called WAV file, and there was no way to transfer that 856 megabyte file from the computer to my portable CD player because I didn't have a computer CD burner. And even if I did find one, I probably couldn't afford the extra CDs to burn for everyone. Yeah, it was bad. I know this sounds silly, but this is roughly 2004 we are talking about. Napster and the internet was still in its early days of piracy, and I still had a super dial up from Kmart. Google it. Also, there was no platform online to stream your music like SoundCloud or YouTube, which hadn't even remotely stepped on the scene. So I figured the only way to make it work was to lug my desktop computer and monitor around to each event, hoping I would attend, hoping I could set up in a high traffic area and be able to somehow plug it in and get people to sit down and listen to it. Yeah, right. That was not happening. Yes, there were many screw ups, setbacks, and constant reminders that I was a novice. But with each mind blowing revelation, I would be led closer to the path to work with some of the music industry's most renowned artists. I must admit, I had a strong work ethic. If the music was recorded wrong, a glitch, a skip, or wrong lyric, it was to be redone right. In fact, most of the stuff I recorded was done so well in the beginning that if I did mess up at the end, there was really no point in going back to do it again because the song was already done so well. To start over because of such a trivial thing would have taken too much time. So a lot of the experience I gained was through messing things up. On one hand, it was a difficult task. Fortunately, it all played out well, I guess, because I got so good at knowing how to cover my mistakes. I became a home studio engineer, which led to me getting paid, which was my goal. Fast forward, the year is 2009. I was working at Guitar Center in Marietta, Georgia. My special interest was now in software, and I wanted to work there because they had hundreds of programs which I knew how to use. And I knew I could sell them to other people who wanted to know about production. Recording with software was all too familiar for me. And that's what earned me the position as #1 salesman each week, and the self-confidence I developed selling face to face right there in the store. I had learned how to engineer and produce on computers by using Fruity Loops and Cool Edit Pro, then later Pro Tools and Logic Pro, all by using cracked plugins. I was now a full-time home studio professional. I was revered as master of the underground engineering craft. All I had to do was download free stuff online and plug in my M-Audio Firewire into my MacBook Pro, and I had a fully mobile recording studio. I was bashing the sound of local studios and got the attention of DJs and studio engineers all over town, wondering how I did it, causing many to rush over to my home studio and steal my techniques. Did I mind? Not really. I wanted the bragging rights, the power to shape the sound of the underground scene in Decatur, Georgia. You may be saying, well, yeah, that's all good, but what about me? How can I do that stuff? Here's your answer. And the point of this story, I had graduated American Intercontinental University with an Associates of the Arts degree in media production, and I was on to attend Full Sail University, where I later graduated valedictorian with a bachelor's of science in music business. And I went to work professionally for the first time in the music industry. I've met platinum selling artists, producers, and engineers, and I've yet to meet anyone of them who could match my knowledge or was better at what I did, because I understood studio work by getting myself into the real studios and showing them what I had to offer became natural because of what I was already doing at home. I'd lived it. And after nearly years, I began to realize the greatest thing that has ever happened to me was to never get involved with the argument about technical stuff. Everything I now know was learned by trial and error, the same name of all those mixtapes I made. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I'd learn what to do through the old-fashioned process of trial and error, exactly as I'd named those earlier albums, because I avoided the criticism of what I was using equipment and just started doing what I thought was best. Back then, I got paid as much as $25 per hour just to sit down and talk to them, and I stretched out those talks for hours, haha. But now, I get paid much more for my time. What I've learned is people aren't as professional as they would have you believe, and they'll pay almost any price. Oftentimes, the producers I've met didn't even use fancy things like Pro Tools. Producer Ninth Wonder still uses an older version of Fruity Loops and an old program called Cool Edit Pro, the same one I also started out with. If you somehow avoid my excellent advice and get caught up in those things, you are going to lose focus so fast your dream will never come true. Nobody on earth, except for the internet trolls, care about what you're using to record your songs. Your fans only care about where they can hear your music right now, because all they want to do is dance and look cool on Instagram when the beat drops, so they can twerk and cha-cha slide. Read this closely. People don't care about whatever super widgets you got installed on your computer, nor do they care about what microphone you are using. What you should do is learn to sell yourself as a creator of the art you make. And today it is so simple. Just buy something you can afford and start to find your style of making music. After that, you will grow as the artist or producer you've always wanted to be. Sidebar. Honest to God, I knew a homeless guy who had a cheap Casio keyboard who could play like Mozart. Anything will do the trick though. Make the best sound from what you have, whether it's from an old Casio keyboard or a Yamaha Montage GarageBand on your iPhone. I promise if you follow this advice, you'll find yourself a decade later much richer and grateful that you read this book. And even if you become rich or famous, you'll probably still be using that very first thing you first started out with. And just like the rest of the pros, in fact, I just trashed the MacBook Pro that I had for over a decade. The same computer I mentioned that helped producer Lil Jon shape his sound for the album is Crunk Rock. It burned out just last week. Thankfully, I just bought a new Mac 2 weeks before that, but it was tough to see it go. I knew I could fix it up, but honestly, she had done all she could do. That computer stayed with me for years and had made me money on top of piles of money every year since its initial startup, all the way to the beginning of this book when it gave out completely. And I loved every moment of it all because of what I learned in the beginning. Stay out of the technical stuff. I was just trying to fulfill my dream of being a star, and I got a lot of local recognition for what I was doing at home. Looking back, I don't think I really cared much about all that. I don't know if that was even in my mind. But what I found out is living my dream was much simpler to do because other people just weren't showing up. So hear me close, my friend, and take this advice if you want to prosper. There is no real competition. I learned how to get people talking about what I was doing at home with cheap equipment. And in the next, you will learn how to do the same. Get the help you want. Join the 30-day artist course. bit.ly/60-day artist. Get your personalized music game plan. bit.ly/survive music biz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at iKey Music. Also, if this book was helpful to you, to show your appreciate and love, donate to the author any amount. Your payment is secure. Cash App, $WILBURN81. PayPal, I am twilburn@gmail.com. Chapter 5. Change the way you look at music business. There is something crazy going on in the world today. So many people want to be the next big name, to make the big list like the best players in the game, but they won't put in real work. Terrence Wilburn. Most artists want to go viral, but they have no hustle. They don't understand what the grind really is about, yet they still want it all, to fly high as the sky and have 1 million people following on social media. But here's one thing you have to do before any of that happens. Take out a piece of paper and write this down. Always remember that if you don't have a particular style, then you've already failed. Some of the world's greatest musicians can play every instrument imaginable. Possibly, those same people could even run an entire studio, but you will never know who they are because they never created their own style. Take Kanye West, for instance. Mr. West has everything under his belt, from hip hop to arena-style worship services. But what you think about him is of no concern to him, because what he understands, what he offers is very specific. He is a producer. He doesn't produce EDM, pop, or jungle, could he? Possibly know how to play bongo on the upbeat of a folk song. Sure. But he's known for is taking what other more talented artists have done, sampling a few seconds, uploading it to an AKAI MPC and banging them out backwards and forward until your head goes numb from how hard the beat bangs through your speakers. He's a hip hop producer. That's what he does. And that is why he has made a music fortune. He doesn't need to know anything about music theory. What he does know is how to make hit records, though. Write this down and memorize it. Good artists borrow, great artists steal. The following is an actual post from a forum that I often check out. I'm a Spanish reggaeton hip hop producer that likes to sing R&B and a little bit of bluegrass. Huh? Now, if you play songs on the little Hawaiian guitar at bars in Honolulu, then you will be that kind of artist. I'm sure there's 6 or 7 tourists who will want to buy your music. If you are a horn player in the French quarters of New Orleans, Louisiana, and you love to play second line music, do that and be the best at it. Whatever it is, just decide. Because if you don't, you may never find the people who would pay you to play your music, or you'll never make 1 red cent from what you do. Rarely do better artists become famous like Alicia Keys or Michael Bublé. But the majority of people never have the tenacity to play an instrument like that either, yet still believe they'll be famous one day. For instance, songwriter Catrice Barnes, if you don't know her, she was one of the music industry's greatest musicians. Catrice played for a host of R&B artists, and she was known as one of New York's finest musicians. She held the title as the musical director for SNL, Saturday Night Live, and won a Grammy and an Emmy for her viral song Dick in a Box, performed by Andy Samberg and Justin Timberlake. Catrice was the kind of producer that could play any instrument. Her greatest achievement, though, came long before the song. With Justin Timberlake, She was known for being the lead singer in the 80s brother-sister R&B duo Juicy and created the smash hit record Sugar Free. Before that, she learned to sing at a very early age and played most any kind of instrument, later deciding to brand herself as an R&B producer. The rest is history. As a producer, she became the musical genius behind Saturday Night Live legendary musical performances, and for nearly a decade, she played a host of R&B studio sessions. Catrice was sure of one thing: she was a producer, and she proved it to the world. Sadly, on August 3rd, 2019, Catrice lost her battle from a lifelong fight with breast cancer. But she will be remembered by all of those who she uplifted with her gifts to make the best grooves on the planet. And music continues to shape the R&B sound today. Now you must decide: rebrand yourself or die. You choose. Choose one genre, and I guarantee that your decision will fly open doors to places and people you've never dreamt of. People will be drawn to that sound, and as soon as you start, you will find out how fast they come running. A few pages ago, I shared with you my passion and my pursuit. I've shared with you my experience as an artist, producer, and my failures to make it all work together. But there is one thing I never shared with you. In order to become famous, you must do something infamous, and I want to use this little story to illustrate this point. It was the 1980s, a time that would form the greatest advertising and pop culture in world history. Many of the products that came out of that era are still some of the greatest things we enjoy in life. But in the 80s, everything was brand new: neon colors, Nikes, Air Jordan 1s, the music of Michael Jackson, Prince, and Madonna, a host of other movies, TV shows, and the absolute best in hip hop culture. It was all new, at least to me, you see. I was born at the beginning of that decade into a world that was already moving fast towards worldwide consumerism, a world that would one day cultivate the minds of people everywhere on earth and change everything we hold true. I thought to myself, this must be how people felt during the Renaissance of old, because new things were coming out of new places we'd never heard of. Various cities in the South, the North, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and others. People who looked like me, Run DMC, Grandmaster Flash, KRS-One, and so many others. I don't have space to name them all. But if you do a little YouTube research, and you'll learn a lot from those guys about what it takes to start out as an artist or producer. Guys like Chuck D and Professor X of Public Enemy are still around today, doing their thing, and it took years to master the business side of branding and music. What I've learned over the years from artists like these is also what will help you to master your craft, build an image, and prosper in business. How? By doing what they love. That's how everyone starts out. And if you stick around, eventually what you do will turn into monetization, meaning they all understand that building their own brand matters. Nothing else does. When the pioneers of hip hop like DJ Kool Herc, or with rock music like Little Richard, all started out, it wasn't about a brand, it was about the music. And gradually it became about making it happen monetarily, which grew into showing the world how it feels to express yourself through music. And when they saw the response of the people, soon they came to the realization they had a responsibility to build. And while all of that was going on, there I was as a little kid, not fully recognizing what was taking place. How could I was just a kid. All I knew was MTV interviews were my Bible, and the music on television was my religion. But so was the world. We were all witnessing a movement sweeping the nation as all these images played on the TV screen day and night. We didn't have to imagine any longer what they looked like. They were right in your home in living color. The clothes they wore, the dance they were doing, and soon enough, what began as fanfare, Hollywood, simultaneously started building a counterculture, then known as paparazzi. Now it would be TMZ. And if an artist had a personal failure, like being arrested for drugs, DUI, or spousal abuse, especially if they died from an overdose, like musical genius Kurt Cobain, that too was right there on TV day and night and nonstop, until people began to wake up to the fact that fame and fortune are two very explosive things. For the artists of that time, they began to set a new standard that the one who was to become the star must first become infamous, and thus spawned the, the culture that would rip the soul out of music, because everyone now wanted the lifestyle of the rich and famous. And I was no different. I wanted to be one of them, and by any means. And I was dead set to do it. Although I did have my share of the limelight once or twice, everyone can now be internet famous. And YouTube is the last battleground on earth to build a real audience of viewers whom you can both entertain and educate. My suggestion to you is to start there while you can, and it's still free. My prediction is by the end of 2027, it won't be any longer, and that will close the doors on what you can and cannot do on the internet forever. Yay, TikTok is around, but it will never be what YouTube is. So cast your nets while you can. Unless you plan on making songs that people will only know the 4 seconds of on everybody's video before they scroll. I can't imagine that kind of world where music has come to this stage, but alas, we are on the brink of something brand new again. This time, I don't think it's good. I can only hope that my grandchildren will be able to have some enjoyment from the great artists who gave their life, sweat, blood, and tears just to make us a little bit happier and, in a real way, set us all free from a bondage that is no longer imaginary, but a present threat to both the people of the world and the culture that bonded them together. And it all came through music, a very magical thing, which produced in all of us the imagination of a lifestyle filled with fame and fortune. Sadly, though, it has only made us become consumers. And if you're not already famous or have a mega fortune in crypto, don't worry. You can still hope to someday go viral and monetize your Facebook page. Until then, don't hold your breath. In fact, I kind of appreciate how free people are from the constraints that held them back from knowing so much and having access to a whole new world of things via the internet. But I'm simultaneously disheartened and sad that this culture has lost the magic and allure of it all. See, a magician never tells his secrets for a reason. The reason is once you know the trick, the magic is gone. Wow, I can feel that. Maybe that's the point. When I thought that I'd want to be famous, I was broke. But when I got some money from a job or my online business efforts, I thought, what's the point? I'm now at the point in my life where I recognize that there's nothing great about being famous just for the sake of being famous, especially since artists of all calibers have come out and said they are dead broke and never really saw any of the money they've made for people. That tells me when you have money, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. So next time you go to a concert, stop and think to yourself, you just may have more money than the artist on stage. Nonetheless, it was great growing up and seeing all those people in TV land. I felt good because it was a magic show and I got the message that I could do it too. So that's what I did. Started imagining myself as someone who other people love and respect and believe in. My young, impressionable mind made it clear to me what I wanted to do, all in hopes that someday it would make me rich. Back then, I didn't know if I would be on like MTV Cribs showing everyone how great I am, but now I own a big ass crib. And I know I don't want anyone but my closest friends and family know what's going on in my house. But what about you? I bet you were like that. Did you want to show off your stuff too? Chances are, since you're reading this book, you did. It's likely you thought the same way I did way back then and were mesmerized by the magic of being famous like me. Maybe you too watched that episode of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Edie Lover and Dr. Dre from YO MTV Raps. Maybe also imagine being in a big, beautiful mansion with the MTV Cribs crew showing the world how large and in charge you really are, with your showing everybody your drop top Ferrari, full home studio with ivory grand piano, your indoor Olympic sized pool filled with champagne and ice sculptures that never melt, or whatever else you put in mind to make that girl in high school jealous. She didn't pick you for a mate or whatever it may be. Here is something your may have never known. It's no longer a secret, but at the time, they didn't want you or no one else to know that many, if not all of those houses on MTV Cribs and shows like that were rented, meaning they got the place just to shoot the show and make you think they were balling. Mic drop. I know, because my mind was blown away too when I met some of those people and they told me the truth. But we were all too sure that we too could be balling like that one day in the music industry. And with that being said, here's an all too important question that I've asked myself time and time again. Have you ever got up in the morning, look at the mirror, and say to yourself, I thought I'd be farther than where I am right now? If so, then you should come to the truth that you've been missing out on the best thing life has to offer you because you wasted time believing in a dream that they sold you. I believe in God. Maybe you do too. If not, I don't really care. The Bible says money answers all things. Ecclesiastes 10:19, which means you may never do anything infamous enough to become famous, but you should know that you can turn your gift into something that gets more than just views on TikTok, because if you want some money, you have to be great at doing one thing. And that's the only thing that's going to help you get a lot of it, but you can do it when you discover the power of your gift. In my early 20s, I was an intern at a record company. The label still exists, so I won't name the company. The president at the time went by the name of E.W. Johnson, and he's probably dead by now because he was pretty old at the time, and he didn't like me very much. And the feeling was mutual. Why? I don't really know. Perhaps he saw himself in me, or perhaps he just didn't like anybody. I don't know. But I was always on my job and did as he asked. Once, we were sent out of town to secure a radio airplay for a new rap group called the Baller Blocker Crew, or BBC. I went above the call of duty and got these guys terrible promotional music played over the radio live after chewing the director's ear off with my mouth and begging people to listen, and traveling through 3 states doing it way too much. After that assignment, I suddenly saw myself going nowhere fast, and I decided my time at the label was over. When I got back to Atlanta, I demanded pay for the work that I had done to promote a group that too was going nowhere fast. I fought loud for my pay, and Mr. Johnson sat me down in his office. His skeleton-like fingers slowly henpecked the printed check on his old typewriter, kind of like the one in the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. And there he was on his coveted printer that he swore that I'd steal one day. I don't steal, but I thought about it. I sat speechless. Time passed as he lectured me about how much time somebody would get if they ever touched his typewriter. But he was the real thief. He knew the cost of doing business and he was aware of what he was doing, hiring a cheap boy to do his dirty man's work. He knew he was stealing from me, especially after being paid nearly $10,000 from that group. He offered me a lousy $100 after spending all I had to help with gas and lunch money on the road trip that I'd set up. And after one night of sleeping in a crummy motel room, I knew that our relationship was over. And there he was, printing out my first and last check that I'd ever made from the music industry. He gave some unwarranted advice after typing the last zero very slowly from his clickety old typewriter, stretching out time and the paper check until he finished the last syllable of his long discourse. My payday was right there dangling between his old, long, glossy, crispy, burnt colored fingers, each stroke reminding me more of the Grim Reaper pointing towards Ebenezer Scrooge in Christmas Carol. And right before I could slide the check from his corpse-like grip, he abruptly pulled back, bowed his wobbly head, and lowered his already foghorn leghorn sounding voice and said in a country drawl, "Stop chasing girls and get some money." I took the check and bowed my head in shame of my would-be success and said in my most defeated voice, "Okay, I will," suppressing a voice inside my heart that said, "Nigga, please." I suppose what he was intending to say to me was what I'm going to attempt to say to you now, that the music business is like a female that you know is out of your league. And though everybody has been with her, you still want a piece. So what I'm saying is, you don't have to be famous to get laid. Just find you a girlfriend or boyfriend if you like that kind of thing. Because the truth is, most people you follow on social media, including the ones who are famous, are dead broke. They may have a lot of followers, allegedly, but they never have real life influence, which is gained from actually having lots of money. Ultimately, the truth is, what Mr. E.W. Johnson told me 20 plus years ago is right. Get you some money, because money answers all things. And when you get some, you realize everything else doesn't matter as much. You start to actually appreciate smaller things in life, not just the finer things. You eat better. You live a more peaceful life because you want to be around to do good things for people with your money. Save yourself a lot of time and heartache. Just focus on bringing in a little more money and do it more consistently. That will solve some of your problems. Right there. Here is one way, www.anewpayday.com. I don't know about you, but like I said, I'm at a point in life where I'd rather be a little bit richer than all the more famous. I'd rather just pay the price to shortcut the pain. And I'm telling you, if you want to stop a lot of unnecessary pain, stop chasing the short skirt of fame and start to catch wealth before it flies away toward heaven like an eagle. Proverbs 23:5. Money could be your best friend, or you can piss it off and make it your worst enemy. It's up to you. But now you know the truth. And if you use what I said in this chapter, it will help you align with making more of it as an artist. A professor in my last year before graduating said, "Keep your job. It will pay for your hobby." I never forgot that. And I'm passing that information on to you, that if you want a very good asset in your life to help you be successful, then get rid of you liabilities, because in life, there is no truer way to measure success than to show others that you have good relationship to money. Follow this advice only if you want to prosper. It'll be the best thing you've ever done. If you want to, dig wells in Africa, build churches in Haiti, or help starving children in Bolivia. You can't do it being broke. You must have lots of money. Real gold looks nice when you can afford it. Nice cars drive well when you can afford the maintenance, and the lifestyle of the rich is always better than the famous. Maybe you'll never become famous, but one thing is for sure, if you ever get rich, the people down at the bank will know who you are. Because when you walk in holding a $20,000 check, you don't care who's following you on social media, as they don't follow you home from the bank. Get the help you want. Join the 30-day artist course, bit.ly/60-day artist. Get your personalized music game plan, bit.ly/survive music biz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at iKey Music. Also, if this book was helpful to you, to show your appreciate and love, donate to the author any amount. Your payment is secure. Cash App, $WILBURN81. PayPal, I am twilburn@gmail.com. Chapter 6, How to Manifest Your Musical Dreams. The music business runs like this. You'll have a manager. You'll have an attorney. Everybody's taking a cut of everything that you do. Everybody's getting a piece of everything. And when they get a piece of all, that's when you have hit record. The moment you step away from that and you want to take control of your own life, your own experience, you'll find that you're not hot anymore. Prince. What would bring you the most success? If you start looking in the right places, you'll find that success leaves clues. Jim Rohn. Well, he must have been right, because he produced the earlier success in the life of Tony Robbins. But it wasn't until years later that I heard him say that. I felt like I'd been ripped off, trying to figure out what really works. Finding success was hard and didn't really work for me. Or so let me share a story with you. After a tedious weekend of recording my first demo, I was exhausted. Yet I couldn't sleep because I only had hours to attend the BMI networking party to pass out the tapes I made. So I didn't. I went to the party tired. I met a few people and shook hands with a bunch of no names, including one fella named Tip. I kept in touch with him for a while, but kind of got tired of him trying to sell me weed. Little did I know he'd become the music industry heavyweight known as T.I. I made a few contacts. Some I called, others I didn't. I just threw them away because it didn't matter to me who they were. What I wanted was to make the right kind of connections with those who were like-minded. And guess what? I was right. Because years later, that's when I heard Jim Rohn giving that lecture on how success leaves clues. And though I was late to the success party, I knew what I heard was right on time. And you too will know what to do when the time comes by doing what you feel is right. And there you will start your pursuit of happiness, walking in the footsteps of giants. I considered whether I had made a mistake by not calling Tip back, but I don't think I would have had the capacity to build the kind of rapport with every single person I met that night. I just know I had a strange feeling about certain people, and by that feeling, I understand what God has for me is for me. Overall, I think I've done well for myself without all that made for TV drama. Also, I learned to sell, which has given me the potential to become far more richer than I could have ever believed just by selling records. Be a copycat of success. Read the book Spin Selling and discover how to qualify people before you try to talk yourself into something that may not need to take place anyhow. In other words, solving someone's problem or pain will make you rich. But if you can't, it may decrease the chances of you winning. There is one thing you must have in order to reach the success you dream of. Eventually, you must rise from the ashes wiser and more resilient about service to other people. Because the end game is not just success, it's ministry. Ministry is the point of doing anything worthwhile, is that you want to help others solve their problem, which opens the door to community, which is the key to success in life. Here's the big picture. First, to find your success, you must fail. Then get up and fail again. Do that over and over again until you win, each time having more courage to get up and wash the dirt off of your face and not be afraid to fail again. Because failure is the beacon of light. And whenever you find your heart beating from fear of failure, you will know it is the beginning of your breakthrough. Jim Rohn is right. Success leaves clues. Your mind can be reprogrammed to destroy every pattern of failure. Soon, you will begin meeting the people you want to meet and those who are successful in the areas you are interested in. And slowly, you will become more successful in life. I model success and results by being willing to endure failure. Now, my experience has provided the insight to help others develop their gift and heal some of the soulish pain, helping people to find a new path to success. And because I said yes, I am more successful, much more than I then believed was capable. My suggestion is that you find someone who you can model their success and learn what they did to make it happen and start implementing those things step by step in your life. Just lead with love and integrity. The best part is today you can find that person on YouTube. There are hundreds of people out there waiting to share their story with you. Each person has the potential to help you succeed. Find the many options made just for you. Get the help you want. Join the 30-day artist course. bit.ly/60-day artist. Get your personalized music game plan. bit.ly/survive music biz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at iKeyMusic. Also, if this book was helpful to you, to show your appreciate and love, donate to the author any amount. Your payment is secure. Cash App, $WILBURN81. PayPal, I am twilburn@gmail.com. Chapter 7. This tiny mindset shift makes everything possible. I thank God every day because we as people, we have to answer to a 9 to 5 or answer to a boss. You know, man didn't come to earth like that. Man came to earth for recreation, which means recreate love. Prince. Here's a final word for you. Pay close attention with laser-like focus to what I'm about to reveal to you so that you don't miss out. One of the reasons why I began producing at home is not because I was lazy or afraid of the big bad music industry. I simply had a dream and saw an opportunity to do it for myself. As a teen, I hung out with a group of older guys who had a habit of talking a lot about how good they were. We all sat around and drank alcohol and did a lot of big talk. Until one day I decided to do something more than talk. I asked a question that stopped everybody from talking again. It sort of went like this: hey, how about we put our money together and make our own music? And in about a year's time, I found myself alone and on my own because nobody else had the guts to take action. And that's why today I am the type of person who is comfortable making decisions that will lead me closer to my dreams. I want to ask something here that may disturb you, but this is all too important. What do you think about what you do? If you are anything like me, and you probably are because you are reading this page right now, it's likely that you're thinking exactly as I am at the moment. Because you want to know how to avoid the world of trouble. Let me tell you this, unless you can do everything absolutely perfectly, the best thing to do is concentrate on finishing. Finish any project, song, and anything else you've started, do it right away, because the point of doing anything is to finish it. But being perfect is against the law of success, which means you will be taxed heavily in fears and years that compound daily. The greatest part of life is fulfillment. A life is nothing without reward, and you will discover this by becoming a finisher. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearance. 2 Timothy 4:7-8 NIV. This scripture illuminates the fact that everything you do needs to be done with purpose through to completion. You will never close the mouths of haters as long as you are living on purpose. No one who is doing anything worthwhile is not being discussed among their peers, because people who are doing nothing, nobody knows. Here's something else to think about. If you've wasted time worrying about the outcome of the decisions, you won't be able to sleep at night. For example, if you took your car to the repair shop and it's a simple fix that was supposed to be finished by tomorrow, but when you come back to pick up your car and find out the repair wasn't even done, how would you feel? Most people would say really pissed off, right? Wrong. Most people don't even go get the repair to begin with. They just keep driving the car because broke people don't get their cars serviced. So they miss out on all the major repairs. If you wait until something in your life starts clicking around, then it's already too late. Signs do not precede, they follow. Meaning, if you want to become the person everyone appreciates, start by appreciating what you have right now and finish what you have started. The moment you do, the work is already half done. Most people never get started. Yes, there are a few things that need to be discovered, but they mostly happen as you continue to move forward. Sometimes you have to use strategies you find others doing to give you a sense of direction towards success. But when you have a dream, all the organizational rules go out of the window. You don't have time to talk to mama about what you should do, neither your spouse, because you are at the door of purpose, and fulfillment is your greatest obstacle. The people you know and talk to will purposely stand in your way and block your success, and you will miss the defining moment to establish yourself as a finisher. Once you pull the trigger, you move straight to the front of the line. When you stand like you're 6 feet tall, no one ever looks down on you again. There is no real competition at the top. It's just people like you reflecting on your decision to take action, and you'll smile and remember how difficult you thought it would be. But you'll know it was so much more difficult to stay in the moment of indecision. Realize that no one is coming to save you. Therefore, you must secure your own rescue. And if there is anyone to be saved, you must do it. But like Michael Jackson says, it begins with the woman in the mirror. The moment thing became clear. I had a neighbor that listened to a lot of hip hop music outside in his car. One day when I was outside in the yard, he was pulling into the driveway and playing an old tune I was very familiar with. When he stepped out of the car, I named the group out loud so that he would hear me. He smiled joyously at first. Then he said, with venom, yeah, you know a lil some. I laughed in style and said sharply, I used to make that music. He stood in disbelief. And with even more venom this time, he said, oh, yeah, everybody used to do that. I tried it myself when I was a young'un. Then I replied with precision, well, I still have a studio in my house. His mouth dropped wide open with a slobbery response. Oh, oh well, maybe after coronavirus goes, you can start making a song. I smiled unwittingly, turned aside, went into the house and closed the front door, opened the side door to my music studio office, and put the finishing touches on another finished project. So, what have you decided in this little conversation of ours? Hopefully, you are ready to be someone who crosses the finish line in victory and grab the Olympic gold or retreat to the water bottle of defeat. In this book, I gave you the tools to change your outcome. The difference between the Olympic gold and the water bottle of defeat is that one of you decided to pull the trigger. Nobody can stop you from dreaming, but you can stop your success as an artist or producer. Will you spend the rest of your days and nights weeping over broken dreams and unfulfilled wishes? You can act right now. Wake up before death is staring you in the face, looking at you through the shadows in the mirror, and you will say, oh, why didn't I do what they told me? Why did I reject a disciplined life? Why didn't I listen to my mentors or take my teachers seriously? My life is ruined. I haven't one blessed thing to show for my life. Proverbs 5:12-14 MSG, something that messed me up for years. Years ago, a hip hop group, the Goody Mob, had a member now known as CeeLo Green, who said, it would be nice to have Mo, but I kind of like being Po. At least I know what my friends here for. And after years of struggle, being broke, and watching other people have fun, I was with my Po and broke friends listening to CeeLo Keep It Real in my headphones while I walked down the freezing cold streets of Atlanta. And one day, while do so in the rain, I got splashed by a dude riding by on 24-inch rims with his fast car and beautiful girlfriend laughing at me. I stopped and teared up. Thought, why the hell do I need these types of friends anyway? According to CelebrityNetWorth.com CeeLo, Green is an American singer, rapper, songwriter, actor who has a net worth of $10 million. Looks like Mr. Green got rich, but forgot to tell the people that bought his record and identified with that type of thinking that he had changed his theology because Baba he not potent no more. Get involved with people who are going to help you succeed in life. And you will find that your gift of creating music is just another thing that you enjoyed along the way to success. Negativity and crab-like mentality is something that will stagnate you and your ability to create. Share your passion for music with a group that's already established and no longer afraid of living in a world of just black and white. And you will find the people devoted to helping you live your dream in living color. The dream that's deep down inside is given to you by God. The Spirit wants to create through you. And the universe you find yourself living in is actually there to help you manifest your dream into a reality. You must be conscious and recognize what is in your hand, because that is the key to your enlightenment. All I can gain by telling you my story is a reaction. Your reaction to this book must be to make the decision to start living your life on purpose. Nothing else is to be gained. This book was free to you, and all I am offering in these pages is my truth. Just like Morpheus told Neo, I have shared my heart for music, my pain in its creation, my passion on this journey, and how it took a lifetime to get here. But it is because I've seen so much that I wanted to help you to avoid some of the bitterness and pain of pursuing your dream. What I have put into the pursuit of happiness is all I have ever gotten from it. But I lived. And just like Whitney Houston said, I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadows. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Because the greatest love of all is happening to me, I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of leads you to a lonely place, find your strength in love. P.S. Remember when I gave you that quote about doing the opposite of everybody else if you wanted to be successful, and how it'd make perfect sense by the time you reach the final page of this book? Well, there you have it now. Go do it. The end. Get the help you want. Join the 30-day artist course. bit.ly/60-day artist. Get your personalized music game plan. bit.ly/survive music biz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at iKey Music. Also, if this book was helpful to you, to show your appreciate and love, donate to the author any amount. Your payment is secure. Cash App, $WILEURN81. PayPal, I am T. Wilburn at gmail.com. About the author. Terrence Wilburn is from Atlanta, Georgia, and is a serial entrepreneur. As a teenager, he noticed an affinity to unlock his potential using Bible scriptures, and by applying them, began to experience wisdom of the supernatural firsthand. Soon he would direct his life towards ministry and serving God's people. As a coach, he believes person has faith, but a leader must trust in their personal role as an apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, or teacher in order to fulfill their purpose in God's kingdom. As an end-time prophet, Wilburn has the vision and passion to help you to succeed. Terrence has degrees in the arts, business, and education in theology, and is the author of 15 self-help books. In 2023, Terrence was named class valedictorian of the music business Bachelor's of Science program at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. He is married to Franchester Wilburn since 2009. Together they have 3 beautiful girls, 3 adopted children, and a granddaughter. You may find more by watching the exclusive music marketing Vault playlist on his YouTube channel at iKey Music.